south on Highway 25. And I'm going just as fast as I can try. Adios to the USA, I'll see you again someday. But tonight, I got a better place to be. And tonight, I'll be staying on the coast of Mexico. In a little tent out on the beach, down as far as I can go. With a button up bayonet or a little bit of Mexican snow. Whoa, 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 Mexico. Yeah, tell me, Mars Mescal, I've got things I want to see. But I'm stuck here now because I threw away my key. So come on, senorita, come on and ballet conmigo, 'cause tonight I ain't going anywhere. Yeah, tonight.
All right, guys. I guess you can hear me now. Oh, that's why. Yo, yo, yo. All right. Oh, stop the sound. Hold on. All right. Now you guys can hear me, right?
All right. I
I know
think I
what
know what
the
the
deal.
deal was here.
All right.
All right. This is King Butcher. Welcome to BDA Boxing, the Boxing Debate Arena Special Edition. Since it's Mexican Independence Day, so we will be drinking, and I expect everybody to drink, unless you are, you know, rehabilitation, whatever you call it. Let's. All right, guys. First of all, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat if you want to jump on. Again, we're gonna keep it to like maybe 10 people on the panel. So first come, first served, and don't fucking bother me like with a bunch of messages telling me to let you in, because you know. What else? Yeah, I'm gonna be using my phone. All right, because I know there's gonna be a lot of yelling and shit. And for some reason, when I use my microphone from my computer, you guys can fucking hear me. So I'm gonna be using my phone for today. And yeah, we're gonna be talking, drinking. And by the way, we have the Venado Lopez fight today. So it's today, not tomorrow. A bit of an echo. What the fuck? That's weird. Shouldn't be an echo. Oh, I know why. Fuck. No, wait, there shouldn't be an echo. Oh, no, wait. Fuck. All right. You know what? Fuck the phone.
All right. So I'm gonna be using the computer. Fuck it. All right. We have Gonzalo in here already, and we're gonna talk boxing. You guys already talked about the
The
Venado
volume's
fight.
low on the computer.
Ah. Okay.
Hey, Butcher, what's going on, man? Are you
Yo,
haven't
yo,
even started
yo.
drinking already? You're all over
Testing,
the place.
testing. How's the sound? BDA.
Good.
All right. Anyways, yep. I'm drinking. I made some sangria. The sangria is pretty good. I made a salsa, but fuck, man, I don't know. It's not even spicy at all. It's not hot. It's fucking shit. And I added 3 habaneros. So, whatever. I don't know what's wrong. Actually, it's kind of spicy. It's kind of hot. My volume on Discord. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, I'm kind of ruining the party here. Yo, 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 yo.
Well, let me take over a little bit while you eat your salsa.
I have an idea.
The Venado Lopez fight, like you said, tonight. I'm seeing people picking Joey Gonzalez, that is, for the upset against Venado. Even though the guy sort of had a little bit of trouble making weight. So I mean, he's been in a couple of wars. Especially the Navarrete one. I mean, when he fought a Dogbo, it wasn't really. It was a tough battle, but it wasn't, where either guy stepped out of there beat up. So I guess we'll see what happens, man. But Gonzalo, what do you think, man? What are the chances of an upset for Joey Gonzalez?
I doubt it. A lot of people think that Venado Lopez, he's wide open. Like you posted, like the eagle punch. Wings flapping, basically 2 arms open to the sides where like the face is exposed. But if he's doing that, it's because he believes in the amount of punishment that he can take. So he's not gonna go in there and box you tit for tat behind the jab. This ain't chess, He's gonna go in there and take whatever he needs to take in order to dish out his punishment. And Joel Gonzalez likes to fight, and in the way I saw that he looked a little upset. Is it because he had a hard time making weight, or because he understands that he's got a confident fighter that's in his moment, and he's basically running into a brick wall? In other words, however hard he tries, it's not going to be enough, because this is his 3rd title opportunity, and he knows he's against a tough fighter. So it's one of those things that he might be defeated already, in my opinion.
I mean, he's got to be confident in his conditioning. That's number one. He's very well conditioned. The other thing is, if I'm fighting Canelo Lopez, yeah, you got to be up against a lot of things, right? His power, his dynamism, explosiveness. But he also has a couple of things against him. One, clinching a lot in the Warrington fight, especially late, which is indicative of a guy who's sort of running out of ideas or is getting tired. So if I'm Judge Gonzalez, I'm confident in my conditioning and the fact that Canelo Lopez leaves his chin up in the air. He's been able to get away with it so far. But I mean, there's a couple of chances there. I mean, he's far from a perfect fighter. So I think Joey Gonzalez might be feeling his oats. But Gonzalez, you expect that as soon as he starts realizing, holy shit, this guy's too much, he's not going to surrender, but he's sort of going to know his place. Kind of like he did. I don't know if you remember the dogbowl fight. He could have actually done more. But I don't know. It seemed like he was saving himself a little bit. What do you think?
I think Joed, it's a difficult situation. Can he rise to the occasion? Because he's pitted in between a rock and a hard place. In other words, in his prior fights after the Shakur, understanding that it was his second title and going on the third title opportunity, he felt that okay, for one, he probably wanted to win, but second, after he lost the second time, most important after that was impressing, because you don't want to run out of opportunities where, you know, Top Rank's gonna not gonna require your services anymore. So the dude's gotta go in there and impress, but obviously winning is probably first and foremost. But it's kind of like one of those two things. Okay, you might be losing the fight, but then again, you still want to go in there and give this guy a battle, because not only is it Mexican Independence Day weekend, you want to impress, because you want to, at least if you lose, get more title opportunities. More fights, if not title opportunities. So it's one of those things, and he don't got the power. So he likes to trade, and he's going to go in there and exchange with Venado. And man, that's just a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right, man.
I want to read some super chats here. Rider of the Storm, thank you for your super chat. He says, Viva Mexico, cabrones, and some tacos and some beer there. Thank you very much, Rider of the Storm. Always appreciate your contribution to the show. We also have somebody else. We have SSC, who renewed his membership program. Thank you for that. He says, Saludos, Raza, Viva Mexico. Great Mexican boxing fights today and tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow we also have some fights on ESPN. So, yep. Oh, no, wait. Today's on ESPN. Tomorrow it's on the Zone, right?
Too late. Too late, Bucho. Too late. You fucked up.
I fucked it up.
You gotta leave now. You gotta leave. No, but
I need to actually leave the field here. I'll be back.
So in other words, Bucho, BDA, Joed got the burden that he got to express. He's got the burden that he has to impress. Even though he loses, he got the burden that it's Mexican Independence Day weekend, Canelo ain't fighting. So you got to go in there and do your thing. And third, it's that chip on the shoulder that I've already lost 2 times going on my third title opportunity, and that door's going to close if I don't go in there and try to beat this guy. But then you're facing a guy that puts pressure, and you yourself likes to exchange. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, let me read you what, because I was reading Steve Kim's latest column. The fuck was that? Yeah, Steve Kim's latest column, and this is what he's quoting Joey Gonzalez here. Joey Gonzalez said, "This is it. I can't go home empty-handed. I'm bringing that belt back home." So this, he feels like his back's against the wall right now. And then this is what Venado Lopez had to say. He said, it's going to be a total war. Sounds like Hitler, by the way, total war. When there are 2 hungry Mexicans in the ring, they always go at it with everything. We know that Joey Gonzalez is tough, and my goal, as I've said, is to knock him out. Now, normally when you hear fighters telling you it's going to be a total war, we're going to go at it, it's what they're saying to sell the fight. I believe these 2 guys this time, based on their past performances. So hopefully they deliver. Gonzalo, do you think, even though you already have Venado as the favorite, do you think this could be an explosive, entertaining fight for as long as it lasts?
Of course, definitely. Joed Gonzalez is proven to be a worthy challenger, a worthy contender. And Venado Lopez is exciting too. Them wide shots, right? And them short uppercuts. So it's like with Venado, the white shots first. If you can't get the dude down the middle, you gotta wrap those punches around the guard. So he's always looking for openings. If you got the dude protecting himself from the white punches, you catch him down the middle. And that's his style, man. Obviously, because he have a chin. So that's not something that everybody can do. Obviously, he's doing it because he believes in his grit, that he can take a punch. So it's one of those things. He comes to fight. He's got quick legs to where he can cut the distance and be in your face all night. And Joel Gonzalez, he's a good boxer, but he also likes to exchange. You know, that performance against Shakur was like a one-off because we know Shakur is a real negative fighter. Yeah, but especially since it's Mexican Independence Day weekend, and coincidentally, Joel Gonzalez kind of looks like Benito Juarez, like a young version. So yeah, it should be exciting.
All right.
Wait, did you say negative, or it sounded like you said another word there when you said negative, like you used an I after the N.
No. Shakur's a negative fighter, so that's why.
I don't know. That's what it's.
Well, you guys already talked about this fight, on the last show, I think. So
yeah, but
let's
Joel Gonzalez.
Benito Juarez. I don't. He looks like Benito Juarez. People who don't know, Benito Juarez is the first full native Mexican president who was a Freemason, by the way. So look it up. He was a Freemason. Guys, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat. Jump on and let's talk some boxing. Okay, since it's Mexican Independence Day, let's talk about Mexican boxing here. Who's the biggest Mexican star for the near future after Canelo leaves? Who is going to take that position? Who wants to answer this question?
Gonzalo, you want to go first, or?
The next Mexican superstar, like full-blooded Mexican blood, born in Mexico.
He can be Mexican-American. He can be Mexican.
I don't know, man. I don't know, really. Camarón Cepeda is a good fighter. He throws an exceptionally large amount, not large, but amount of punches. So he's aiming at 2,000 right now. He got a good coach, El Panda Nájera. So he's a good fighter. Reminiscent of, what's his name? The dude that killed himself in the car. Jesus Christ. Fucking
Sanchez, yeah.
Yeah, hey, and I saw his interview in Spanish. He's real mature, man. He really puts together his sentences very well. He's a very mature dude, so I mean, I like his fighting style. I don't know, man.
People
you know what?
Ronaldo and Navarrete, but go ahead, Media.
Yeah, look, the interesting thing, Mexico's a factory of boxers. There's always somebody he's always producing world-class fighters. Now, the question, though, is not who's the next world-class guy. You say who is the next star, right? The guy that's going to transcend the sport of boxing, like Canelo, like AJ. That is a more difficult question. I mean, I would have said Virgil Ortiz, because he would have been in a division where most of the eyes are usually at, welterweight, super welterweight. But now he's having some sort of issue, health issues. He's going to college. Last time we heard of him, he was passing out, and some guy had to give him mouth to mouth, sticking his tongue down his throat. So I don't know what's going on, man. So maybe a guy like Diego Pacheco, who's going to be fighting, I want to say in a couple of weeks, because he's a super middleweight, and he's a big Mexican. So that's a division that's more.
Though, the size, does it play a factor? Because I mean, Bam Bam's there, but how? Because in the weight division that he fights in, can he become a really big name? I think within Mexicans, yes, but he cannot. He can transcend.
Because look at Ricardo Lopez. He's not brought in the competition against all the other Mexican greats. Somebody mentions a good point on the chat. Emiliano Vargas, the son of Fernando Vargas, is probably going to be what Ryan Garcia isn't right now.
You know what, man? That's the other thing, though. For years, I was telling people Juan Francisco Estrada is a highly underrated boxer. In fact, circa 2015, 2018, well, no, not 2018, between 2013 and 2017, I was telling people Estrada's actually a better skilled opponent. He's a better fighter, I was going to say, than Canelo. Then Canelo overtook him with his accomplishments and all that. But for a long time, Estrada was a very skilled fighter, and world-class combos, lungs, stamina, chin, heart. But he just wasn't getting the shine because of the weight division. And historically, those type of guys only really get a lot of attention when it's a mega fight at the division. For example, when Chiquita Gonzalez fought Carvajal in Mexico, and it was in like a bull arena, I think. So, and that was jam packed. So you need those type of fights to really capture the attention of the average boxing fan or the casual, because other than that, they want to focus on the heavyweights, the middleweights, the welterweights, to a certain extent, the lightweights.
True. And when it comes to Barrera and Morales, like, did they become more Well, I think the answer is yes. They became more popular because they fought each other, right? But if, let's say, there wouldn't have been a Barrera, would Morales have become that popular?
That's a great question. I mean,
Or Barrera?
They certainly helped each other, but they sort of set the stage for where after their epic first fight, they were always connected. So when Barrera beat Hamed, people are like, "Whoa, well, he can beat Morales now in the rematch." Because remember that at that time Morales was sort of on the decline. Then Morales rebounds against Poli Ayala, dominates him, and I was like, "Holy shit! Now the fight is even better." And then they fought together the second time, and then it was a bigger event. It was on pay-per-view, whereas the first one had been on the
I remember.
after, I want to say, or championship boxing. Yeah, so it depends, man. I mean, they're definitely both guys can feed off each other. That's why we need the big rivalries, and that's why I kept saying the lightweights. Some people are saying, Shakur Stevenson, nobody wants to fight him. I agree. In the Frank Martin fight, if you look into it, it does seem like from what we can gather that it was the PBC again who kiboshed the fight. But there's other times where Shakur Stevenson said, "Oh, these guys are avoiding me," and it's just not the case. So it's unfortunate, but a lot of these Americans, undefeated young Americans, they don't want to fight each other. Again, I reiterate what Irish Andrew Ward said in the Discord, and when he called in, when he says, nowadays, if you ask most young fighters, "Hey, when are you going to fight another fellow young undefeated fighter?" "Oh, that's definitely a great fight down the line," and
down the line,
hey,
yeah. They need to make it now because they could get into, if they fight somebody if they get into a competitive fight, like a Shakur Stevenson gets into a competitive fight, then maybe people will be like, "Oh shit, this was a really good fight. Let's see a rematch." And then at some point, maybe you end up with 3 fights, and that really puts it makes their career looks better, right? If they have this type of fights,
absolutely,
these memorable fights.
It's about the fight. That's what it is. It's boxing. It's about the boxing bouts. It's not about talking on Twitter and creating a shine for each other and attention. And, "Oh, I'm going to fight you one day. Yeah, I'm going to fight you." And then they fight each other people. And it's like, "Well, my name is out there now because we did so much talking on Twitter." No, you're supposed to fight each other. That's how you gain the respect of the boxing fans.
Yeah, they might get into a war at some point, and people are going to remember that war and the rematch and whatever happens after. But basically, we're not getting the fights we want. Like, a lot of talk on Twitter and Instagram, like you say, and nothing else. We have some new people here. Let's hear Frankie, and we also have the Boxing Prophet. Guys, go ahead.
I was completely disgusted by what Frank Martin did. So it's not exactly clear exactly what went down in the negotiations. However, it's clear that Shakur Stevenson was prepared to fight. Apparently, they had agreed the contract, and then Frank Martin then turned around and stated that he was not going to fight for whatever reason. UFC is not like boxing, but one thing they have over boxing is the fact that people there are prepared to fight each other. In boxing, they constantly hide. It took Mayweather and Pacquiao 3 to 4 years, almost half a decade, before they agreed to fight. And if boxing continues down this road, it will get to a situation where professional boxers don't have any prize money to get at the end of the day because it will just be taken up by influencers. That's why you've got YouTube, people from YouTube becoming professional boxers now because they have seen the gap in the market. They've seen the niche and they've jumped in. And can you blame them? You can't blame them. How can a person who supposedly has a title, I don't know what title he has, refuse to fight someone else? Come on, man. I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is also where the sanctioning bodies come in. They're not doing their jobs. They're not mandating the fights that we need. They have to. They should be stripping a bunch of boxers right now.
You
A
know who
bunch of them.
the worst culprit is? Tyson Fury is the worst culprit I've ever seen in my life. That guy has no shame. He
No.
has no shame. For 1 year, he refused to fight Usyk for 1 year, and then decided to now fight somebody who has never fought a professional boxing match in his life. This is it. I mean, if you take the sport seriously, you'll be sickened by this. This is
He's not
disgusting.
even in shape. He's not even in shape. He's fat. Did you see the face off? Whatever. That guy's fat. So that just shows you how seriously he's taking this piece of shit fight, man.
You know what? That Frankie brought up the great point about the YouTubers. Now, I'd sort of made my peace with the YouTube ones. I said, it is what it is. I'm not gonna watch it, so what do I care? But it is indicative of a big hole being in boxing, so that these guys can come in and do that. I mean, that is sort of shameful. Not that the UFC MMA is immune to that. I mean, they also remember they gave CM Punk, that professional wrestler, a spot on one of the pay-per-views to fight, and God bless him. He tried his best, but he just, I mean, there's a reason why the UFC is a pinnacle of the MMA. It's world-class MMA. It's the same thing with boxing. I mean, you're putting these guys on the main stage, and Jake Paul, he throws 3 punches, and then he's got to clinch for 2 rounds because he doesn't have good stamina. So it's night and day when you watch world-class professional boxing against some of these guys, but it is what it is. But yeah, Tyson Fury, is it true that, I don't know anymore with the fake news and all that, but is it true that he said he has no interest in fighting Usyk and that he's looking to fight John Jones?
Yes, that is correct. He said that. He said that he has no interest in fighting. What's his name? Sorry, Usyk. Yes.
Hopefully it's BS.
No.
Hopefully hopefully he's just saying that just to say that. You know what I mean? Because usually when a fighter says something, I go, maybe he's bullshitting or whatever.
He has been coddled too much. He has been treated like a child, because the sanctioning bodies should have said, if you don't fight, I'll take your belt away. Why is it that they did the same thing to Jermell Charlo, somebody who has actually fought tough competition, fought constantly, and not tried to take any break? The second that he said he's going to take a challenge, which he's entitled to because he broke his hand, he had a serious hand injury, and you can't box if you have a broken hand. I've never seen a boxer who has had a broken hand and not had surgery on it and gone into box. So he had the right to take some time off, but instead they stripped him of his title immediately. So why they stripping Jermell Charlo, but they're not going to strip Tyson Fury?
Well, Joe Cordina is the worst. He was injured, and then all of a sudden, I think it was the WBA, they just come in and whoop, no more title for you.
The thing with the Joe Cordina is that they were they had that Rakimov guy was waiting, so they was like, man, let's just strip this guy, but they was gonna get him back. That Joe Cordina was gonna fight him. I don't know. They should have waited
before the Rakimov fight, then, which took place.
He was stripped before the.
Okay.
Well, because Rakimov, he had been mandatory for a while, and they was like, all right, we're just gonna strip this guy, and then when he comes back, we'll just give him the title shot. But with the Jermell thing is that I don't know, man. He's been injured. He's been injured for 16 months. They was waiting for him to come back.
16 months? Are you
16
sure?
months. 16 months. He was gone. They were waiting for him to come back. That's the whole Tim Tszyu fight thing. And then all of a sudden he's fighting Canelo. So it's like, okay, we're going to take this guy. Because Tim, another guy that's been mandatory for a long time. So it was like, and you can't, the thing is, Tim's a big star down there in Australia. You can't really fuck with him like you can do some of the other guys. They can keep these other guys waiting for years and years. But Tim's going to get a shot because he's earned it, and he's also Kosher Tszyu's son.
How has he earned his shot?
Because he beat the guy that beat Jermell Charlo.
No. The fact of the matter is that, if you recall, he was supposed to face Jermell Charlo before that. So what has he done to even become a mandatory?
Mandatory. I just told you he beat Tony Harrison. He beat Tony Harrison.
No. If you understand, he beat Tony Harrison after the fight with Jermell Charlo was already scheduled. So what did he do to become a mandatory at that point? Not after Jermell Charlo had a broken hand and then was not able to fight. So, but even before that, Tim Tszyu was the mandatory for that. But the fact of the matter is that this is a manufactured champion. It's not good. He got dropped by some guy that he just fought in like.
Oh my gosh! Did you even watch the fight? I watched the fight. Yes. He got dropped, and then he beat the guy every round. That's different. That's different.
You think he will beat Charlo?
I don't know if he's gonna beat Charlo, but he has his right to challenge Charlo. That's the point.
Sure. Okay. Well. I just don't see the hype. I think the hype train is going to get.
I don't know, man. At first, I was like, okay, this guy can't beat Charlo, but after I seen him in action, I'm like, this guy can definitely contend. It's all about can you contend on the level. It's because the last
Harrison fight. Were you impressed with the Harrison fight?
I want to ask you this: Can he beat Crawford?
Crawford? There's a possibility Crawford's going to be in his fourth division.
He actually has been on the WBO route since he beat Dwight Ritchie. He's been defending the WBO Global ever since then. He fought for the interim super welter when he fought Tony Harrison.
Yeah.
Well, can I say this about Tim Tszyu? Initially, I was like Justin. I was like, I'll keep an eye on him because we've seen. I mean, he's just automatically when you're the son of a famous fighter, you're like, we'll see. Is he really getting these opportunities based on merit or because of his father's connections? When he fought, what's his name, Jeff Horn, he fought a lot of the guys that Munguia had already fought as well. So you're thinking, all right, he's got some ability, but it's really been in the past 2 years. He's powered up. I mean, yeah, he got dropped by Terrell Gosha, and then he looked like an Gennady Golovkin in there, minus the one punch knockout power. But he was giving a shellacking in there, and then the Tony Harrison win, and the way he just took out Ocampo in one round. I mean, he's improving his punching power, and he's got very good technique. Now, can he beat Terence Crawford? I don't know. I want to really see the Brian Mendoza fight is going to tell us a lot about how he can handle a fellow young, fast and explosive fighter like Mendoza, who's coming off a bunch of upsets. But it's not out of the realm of possibility he can beat Crawford. Crawford's a flawed fighter too.
Yeah, he's flawed too. He's going to be in his fourth weight division. He's invisible. Crawford is a great fighter, very great fighter, but he's going to be in his fourth weight division. And he's going to be 36.
Yeah, but it's definitely the name. The name carries a long way.
Yeah.
Which name are you talking about?
Tim Tszyu.
Tszyu.
Tszyu. Okay.
What about Crawford? I mean, like, is it a foregone conclusion that he can dominate 154 at 36?
I don't know.
Nope.
He's a really good fighter, but it's not foregone conclusion. There's really good fighters at 154.
Yeah. I don't think people understand how powerful the Charlo brothers are, because if you see the way that they throw shots, they twist their hips, they turn into the punch. They know how to throw power shots. Now, I don't like Derek James as a trainer, but one thing that he knows how to do is how to train fighters how to throw power shots. So they're very, very powerful. Anybody that goes up against them, even Canelo might get knocked out.
Well, the thing about
he's got great timing. Not both brothers are with James. I think one is with Ronnie Shields. Yeah, but that's why the KO percentage has increased because, like Sean Porter said, he's not really a remarkable puncher. Well, he wasn't until he was. Once he started turning over the shots and getting the timing down, most importantly, the timing, the accurate punches, he started getting the knockouts. This is Jermell Charlo.
My thing with that fight with Jermell Charlo and Canelo is that Canelo's got excellent defense. I mean, I was watching that Bivol fight, man. Sometimes the way he was making Bivol miss was crazy. Like, Bivol had to really have to use his timing really, really well to start catching Canelo again. And I don't think Charlo has ever seen anything like that because That Castano dude? Like he has a basic high guard, just basic comes in. He does it very well, but he doesn't do what Canelo can do.
Well, can I ask you guys something? I'm very curious to hear everybody's thoughts on this. A lot of people are giving Charlo a chance because one of the narratives out there is that Canelo has slowed down considerably, and they're basing that off of the John Ryder fight. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What did you guys make of the John Ryder fight?
I think that he has slowed down a bit. I think the issue is not just the fact that he has slowed down because he's been fighting a long time and there is wear and tear, especially the way that he fights. But the real issue is the fact that he's just a power shot searching type of boxer, basically. So even when he trains, he does not throw combinations on the back. He will give like a left hook as if it's going to the body on the back and then to the head, etc. But these are single shots. So by the time that you now get inside a fight, you think you're to go from throwing single shots on the back to now trying to fight like a I don't know who throws lots of power shots or combos like a Manny Pacquiao to go from doing something that is not too energetic to trying to show that you've still got youth in a fight is not easy to do, and Canelo is getting up in age. I don't believe that he's completely slowed down. I'm not sure that he has, but he's a lot slower than Charlo for sure, and that could be his undoing in this fight.
In the Ryder fight,
I think we're going to see after. We're going to see what happens.
It's an adjustment.
I think we're going to see what happens in this fight.
He's bigger, so he's throwing less punches. But really now, what he's trying to do is he's trying to knock you out, man. Right. So these punches that he's throwing, if you look at the arm, okay, he looks slow, but those are shoulder-driven punches. When he goes in there, he's turning the body and throwing the shoulder in every shot. So they might not look remarkably fast, but he's getting into position where he's going to get his back. And like somebody said, against Bibble, he still displayed the weights movement. But whether he chooses to employ it or not, that's dependent on the fight that he's taking. Against John Ryder, tough guy, he went in there and did it like that because he can. If it's a different opponent, he can change it up and do it differently. Now, in the training that for this fight, it looks like he's going to be relying a little bit more on movement and not so much muscle, but utilizing the speed. He can always
simple. He carried John Ryder. I think that's what it was.
I agree with Gonzalo because you know what, John Ryder is a tough guy. I mean, he went tooth and nail with Callum Smith, and I think he won the fight with Callum Smith in my opinion. But and I think we're going to really see how much this wear and tear and this aging really is going down in this fight coming up. I think this is when we're going to see it, if it happens. If we see it in this fight, then for sure. But if we don't see it, then, I think the guy's still on top.
I'm going to knock you out, man.
That's another great point, though. Ryder's no slouch.
Then for sure. But if we don't see it, then, I think the guy's still on top.
I'm going to knock you out, man.
That's another great point, though. Ryder's no slouch.
Then for sure. But if we don't see it, then, I think the guy's still on top.
I'm going to knock you out, man.
That's another great point, though. Ryder's no slouch.
Then for sure. But if we don't see it, then, I think the guy's still on top.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Hello?
Yo, what's going on? Yeah.
So I would like to ask, does anybody think that realistic possibility
Yo, what's going on? Yeah.
So I would like to ask, does
Yo, can everybody hear me, by the way?
Yeah,
There's a weird delay.
story short, we'll get that fixed here. But what would you? Okay, so you guys keep going.
Yeah. So I was just asking if anybody realistically felt Canelo might get knocked out in the fight. Is that a possibility for Canelo to get knocked out in the upcoming fight?
I don't think so, personally. I think his defense is just too good. And I think, honestly, I think that before he gets knocked out, I think Charlo's going to start swinging wild and stuff, if anything, which will give him the opportunity to at least get a knockdown against Charlo. I think it's going to go to the decision.
The only way it's not out of the realm of like possibility, but it's very highly unlikely. He would have to trade with Canelo and get there first with the right hand or with the left hook. But basically, what Canelo would have to happen is Canelo not see the punch at all, and that's very unlikely for Canelo not to have his be attentive to that. He always watches everything. Especially the hooks, because once you got the high guard and you got that shoulder pin to the side of your chin and you're keeping your eyes open and between the gloves, all you got to do is watch that shoulder travel just a little bit and roll with the shot, and you could catch the hooks where you take some of the power off. So he's very experienced in that regard. And good luck piercing the guard with the clean punch. And then not only that, he have a big neck, so he can take a punch. It would have to be he got the timing, but it would have to be a perfect fucking punch, man.
Yeah. I was about to say that I think the issue is that Canelo has a very thick neck and back too. So that also prevents him from easily getting knocked out. However, that does not prevent him from being subject to a TKO, a technical knockout, rather than an actual knockout and being on the floor asleep for, dreaming of better days.
I'd say utilize the straight jabbing shots like the one you caught Banana Rosario. That was an accurate punch with the timing where at the pit of the stomach. If Canelo starts moving at the waist and you cannot penetrate the high guard and rattle him, hey, there at least if he starts moving the waist, there's a sign of a movement there of life. Hit him to the stomach.
Also, he likes beef too, so that helps, I'm sure.
That gets old, man. Come on.
The thing about Charlo is that even though he's a pretty good he can throw a variety of punches. He's an okay body puncher. He can throw different punches to the body, but he can't I don't know if he can continuously do it without getting countered. Because he himself is a counter puncher. People think he's just going to go in there and blaze Canelo and outbox him like Bivol, which Bivol had trouble landing on him too. But he's more of a counter puncher. It's going to be a little bit tricky in there because they're going to try to counter each other.
That's why I mentioned throw us. What I meant the other day was like a throwaway shot because you got to bait the counter puncher to counter him, and you got to throw with him, not before or after, because you're going to be out balanced. Canelo rush you first. You're going to be a little bit winded when you try to counter the counter puncher because Canelo's a counter puncher too, but he puts pressure. And if you throw after, you're going to be out balanced. So throw with him and obviously try to catch him first because you're going to be the quicker guy, I presume. Right? But the thing about Canelo, he got that great chin, so he's always going to get into position to get his get back. And that's
even with the chin, he rolls and picks shots. He has a lot of ways to defend himself. So I'm telling you, man, Charlo's going to try to be aggressive. He's going to try to score points, but it's going to be a lot harder than he thinks. I'm telling you, man, people just don't understand.
How do you think the fight will play out, Justin? How do you think it will?
I think it's going to go. I think it's going to go to decision. I think it's going to be maybe a UD for Canelo or a majority decision for Canelo.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did excuse me? Did you watch the Castano fight at all?
I did.
Both fights.
But they don't fight. Canelo and Castano don't fight the same. They both use pressure though. But Castano he has his high guard and he throws a lot of punches, which left him susceptible to counters.
I know, but you're basing a 154-pound fight. When Canelo connects on him, I don't think he's going to wear those punches the same way.
Possibly. You're right. Yeah.
I think an issue with Charlo and every Derek James fighter is that they get hit a lot. They get hit a lot, man. It's terrible. Brian Castano was hitting Charlo constantly. The only issue is that I don't know how Charlo is going to react to getting hit by Canelo, because Canelo is I would assume has more power than Brian Castano.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that I actually saw Jamel and Jamal compared to each other when they were standing facing each other. Jamal's way bigger than Jamel, so it's crazy. Jamal should be fighting this fight instead of Jamel.
But this back to what I've always said about Canelo. This guy is a cherry picking. I don't want to use any bad term, but this guy has spent his whole career cherry picking. He's never fought people at the top that could actually beat him. Even, in my opinion, Erislandy Lara beat him. Erislandy Lara, they said Golovkin beat him too. This guy is just not facing the fights that he should face. How can you be saying that you want to face somebody undisputed who is 2 weight classes below you? I mean, come on.
Well, he probably didn't choose him when he signed with PBC for the 3-fight deal. They probably gave him that guy, right?
Yeah, and the thing of it is, Al-Haim has been looking out for the Charlos for a long time. He's been waiting for this opportunity. He's not going to let it slip by. He's not going to. Of course, he's going to offer them up. They've been wanting this fight forever.
I would argue against what you said earlier, though, a little bit. I think Jermel's the much better fighter compared to his brother. Yeah, you're right about the size, but if you're looking at skills, I think Jermel actually has the better. He has the better avenues to win than Jermel. Jermel's going to get fucked up because we've seen Jermel in there with guys like Korobov. I know he's a southpaw, but Jermel stays on the center line, and Canelo will eat that apart. Canelo takes Jermel out in under 6 rounds, in my opinion. Jermel has enough skill and craft to protect himself for a little bit, but I don't think he goes past 8 to 9 rounds, personally.
I don't know, but another guy from 154 is going to be there, El Mano Ramos. I used to hear a lot of good things about him. I'm like, man, that guy can't be that good. I think he might just be that good. I think it's going to be him and Tim Tszyu at the top at 154. If Virgil isn't going to be that active,
I believe so too. He already beat La Bala Mendoza, the guy that Tim Tszyu's going to fight next, a while back ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he beat Vladimir Hernandez, Warhorse, that just beat the Truck Simpson guy.
Yeah,
and it's been he's been getting a few upsets. Yeah. So the guy's good, man. Look how he dominated Joey Spencer, which obviously Joey Spencer looked a smaller man, that he didn't belong in that division, but obviously he still did his thing. Mondo Ramos, right?
Yeah.
So he's a young dude. I think he's only like 22 or something.
Yeah, I think he just turned 20.
Yeah.
Hey guys, can I change the topic a little bit here?
Sure.
I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I didn't want to say this right after the fight, but now that I've taken some time to analyze the whole fight, and I think that Spence was highly, highly overrated. And I know people are going to say I'm taking credit away from Crawford, and I mean, unfortunately, I have to take credit away from him, but just because Spence wasn't that good. And I was thinking about his career, Spence. Who did he fight? How did he look in that fight? And I started to realize, this guy wasn't that good.
Well,
I don't give
a when did he fight them? That's another thing to think about too. Like his best fight, a lot of people argue, was Kell Brook, and he was already really fucked up. So yeah, that's a fair point.
No, it's the Sean Porter fight for me. I think that was the one. He had to really, really dig down deep to beat Sean Porter. And but
he wasn't really getting out. He was just getting a little outworked. But Kell Brook was actually taking rounds from him and beating him up. A fresh Kell Brook would have been a different animal than after Golovkin like kicking his face, teeth down his face and that shit. Like, I don't know. I would rather have seen that. That was fucking
That's
Eddie
more.
Hearn
That's more.
trying to
Chris,
fucking.
that's a combination of Chris Eubanks Jr.'s fault with
No, that's Eddie Hearn's fault because he had nobody to put in. And he didn't want to lose the money.
I think that it just goes back to who the trainer is. Eric James trains with a style where his fighters get hit a lot, constantly get hit in order to try and throw one or two punches. That is not a good strategy, and I think that's even the strategy which Derek James himself used when he was a professional, professional fighter. So he does not train people well at all. There are other good trainers that can actually train you to avoid punches, train you to fight on the outside, train you to, and even if you fight on the inside, there are some good things you can do. There are techniques which allow you to be a good inside fighter without having to take constant punches. Derek James just says like, you have to take the punches to get the victory, but unfortunately in a sport like boxing, whereby you take so much punishment that it affects the rest of your life, it's a bad strategy in my opinion. And of course, it's easy to say this from the sidelines.
But he worked.
But
I mean,
but think about this.
he fought Crawford.
What do all those people have in common? Even AJ now, all these people are the physical wise, they all have a lot of physicality. Sorry to be redundant, but they all have a lot of physicality to them, and that's pretty much how his training works. Get in the pocket, try to fuck them up. I don't know. Like, you're right. I don't know who was just talking, but I think you're right. I think tactically that's a major flaw with this training.
Huge flaw. I don't understand why people try to rate Derek James as if he's the best boxing trainer that has ever lived, basically. Like, the guy has a lot of issues, man, as far as trying to train people how to technically avoid. And one thing that I've learned is that there's no trainer that will teach a particular style to every one of their students. That's why Floyd Mayweather's
his style.
Right. His style, the trainer
it's not applicable to anybody. I know what you're saying.
But you got to consider it worked until it didn't. He made two undisputed world champions. He got somewhere with it. Obviously, you can't keep doing it and winning all the time because Spence drank his own Kool-Aid. He thought he was the Terminator. And obviously, after the accident, his resistance wasn't gone. And when that dude is pressuring you, believing that he got a good chin, when he don't, hey, that's a fucking recipe for disaster, man.
How about this? Can I say something real quick before, and I'll shut up. But I think all his fighters, again, have all the same things in common. They're all big, physical guys. And he can't really, if you gave him somebody like, I know this is kind of like a fucking offshoot, but what if you gave him like somebody like Mauricio Herrera, who had no power, but it was kind of elusive? How would he train him? Like, he would fuck that guy up. He'd get knocked out. So I don't think I don't think he needs a certain type of fighter for him to be successful. All these guys have something in common.
Right.
I would agree with that completely.
But he was working with Spence, though. I mean, you can't say he wasn't working with Spence.
I'm not saying it wasn't working, but I'm saying him, Charlo, the other Charlo. You actually
physical.
Yeah, it's all the same shit. And even now you have AJ. What does he rely on? He relies on physicality.
Well, the thing with Spence was that he was kind of anointed by Floyd Mayweather. They were talking about how he gave him such great work. That's how they really started getting behind him after that. And then after he beat Brook, they really started supporting him. And then, Crawford came along, and then they saw him as a threat, so they started shitting on him and all that stuff. In the back of their mind, they always knew that Crawford was a real threat to Spence, but they wanted Spence to be the face of the division.
I think that Spence essentially could have been good when he was starting after he came out of the Olympics. However, he has been taught the wrong thing for too long. If you look at, for example, when Bomac was in Chris Eubank his last fight
His
in the corner.
Yeah.
Womack was telling Eubank to like take the jab. Eubank would stand in the middle. Then Womack would tell him, you have to move to the side. You have to step around. You have to do this. You have to. His instructions were spot on. They were spot on, and those instructions were not go in there like keep a high guard, dip down, and then try to punch. So
for Spence, you mean?
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, that was actually the worst cornering I think I've seen in probably over 10 years. Where he just went back to the corner and he's just sitting there. He's all fucked up, and they're sitting there trying to put his face back together and shit. And he's not telling him anything, or he's actually telling them the very thing that's been getting them hurt. He's like, you need to get it on his chest. It's like, motherfucker. It's like, I've been trying to do that shit. It almost kind of reminds me when Devin Haney went back to his corner and he's like yelling at his dad. He's like, I can't move fucking right anymore. You don't understand. He's like, he's cutting me off. You can almost see like Spence's face. He's like, the shit you're telling me ain't working right now. And you know what sucks about Spence is that he doesn't really have a good switch up in his repertoire. Like, what is he going to go on the back foot and just bounce around the ring?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was undefeated prior to facing Crawford. He was winning, so he had never lost. But when he fought Crawford, what did people expect him to outbox Crawford? He probably loses that way even worse, in my opinion.
I agree.
So what could he have resorted to? Whichever way you want to look at it, he would have lost.
How come he was a unified champion with 3 belts and people were saying he's a pound for pounder?
He was never a pound for pounder.
How can you be a pound for pounder?
In most people's list, he was in the top 5.
Hang on.
But the thing is, he's just so popular. He's just so popular, and the LBC, they just keep. Huh?
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
With the LDBC and the him being so popular, I'm out here I live where he lives in DeSoto, Texas. He's very popular out here, and him. He was just very, when he went out there and bring back the belt, they just, around the world, people at the LDBC, the whole Texas, they started supporting him, and he was able to get pound for pound recognition, even though he never fainted. He doesn't faint, and that's a very important skill you need to have as a pound for pound fighter. He doesn't switch it up. He doesn't set up punches. He doesn't do none of that stuff. If you want to be a pound for pound fighter, you have to do that stuff.
Yeah. Can I mention something real quick too? That I noticed that people really like the discount about Spence's career. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was a 152-pound fighter in the amateurs, but he goes down to 147. How in the fuck is that pound for pound? And he's never left the weight class, and we really have to entertain that. He's literally almost the biggest guy in that fucking weight class, outside of like Boots Ennis and some other select guys, which are big.
You have to admit, if a fighter at that level cannot faint, that is utterly shameful. That shows that he's not been trained properly. Fainting is an essential part of the game. Tyson Fury faints constantly. I mean, come on, man, this is crazy.
He faints more than he punches.
Yeah.
Even Canelo faints. But
Canelo faints. I think Canelo has better style to his feints though, because he'll feint and then he'll get you to throw any counters. Versus like Tyson Fury just feints, and then he'll throw a punch, and then you won't see anything really come back at that. He'll tie you up. Like Canelo has a better style for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you need feints. Just like the other guy said, you need feints, and if you just throw the jab out continuously, that's the even though it's the best punch, it's also a simple punch. If it's the same every time, you can counter it.
Yep. Yeah. I agree.
And then that's why they were like, what? Because he was countering his jab. That's what happened.
Well, there's good ways to counter jabs too. There's a lot of ways to do it. And if you're just going to sit there and pump it out there like it's like a piston, as if you're going to back a guy down, there's a lot of guys, and Canelo loves that shit. So,
yeah, the difference, Canelo not only feints, he will actually change levels with it. He'll throw down, and sometimes you think he's throwing down, but he's throwing up. So it's not actually like always a feint. You think it's a real punch. That's the key to like selling a feint. You actually got to land that punch sometimes.
You know what the other thing is too, Gonzalo? He feints. He disguises his punches rather. So he'll pull the punch all the way down to his hip, like you think a body shot's coming, and it's coming to your fucking head. Like he'll throw them all from his hip, and he'll throw them to your body over and over again. And you're like, oh shit. And because people look in on that after a while, like, oh shit, his hand's at his hip. I'm getting a body shot. And like maybe like the 10th or like 12th time, now it's coming to the head. And you're not ready for it. And he catches people by surprise. He does a really good job of that. He did that to Amir Khan. I know that's not a great person to compare because he was grossly outside of his weight class. But look what he did to Amir Khan. Amir Khan would jab him, he'd come underneath and he'd punch him right in the fucking ribs. By at the end of the third round, you could see the knuckle marks on Amir's ribs. And then eventually he squatted down. Amir's hands came down to protect himself from fucking getting his ribs busted, and he came over the top and cleaned him.
I put out a challenge. I said Spence was overrated. Debate me. If you want to debate, click the link. We can talk about this because Spence was completely overrated. This guy was not a pound for pounder. Not a pound for pounder.
Yeah. No, he was never pound for pound in my opinion.
You go back, I said I always said this fight is not a 50-50 fight. Because
who comes out of the amateurs and goes down in weight? How is that pound for pound, right?
Yeah,
he's already fucked that criteria. The criteria is fucked up already.
He's a elite fighter for his weight class, just like anybody. If you're like in the top 5 of your weight class, that's what Errol Spence is. He's the elite fighter that was fighting at welterweight. He's one of the top 5 guys at welterweight. That's what he was.
That's fair. No. That's a good accolade to have too. Nobody's discounting what he's done. But we're talking pound per pound.
Exactly. Listen. It's important to put things into perspective here because if Spence wasn't as good as some people claim he was, then that means that Crawford, although he's a good boxer, he's not an all-time great welterweight as some people are claiming he is. Because he's really not. I mean, if you look at his welterweight career, there's a Sean Porter fight, but I mean, that Sean Porter retired right after it. So that, you can make an argument that this guy was already on the way out. And then after that win, what else is there at welterweight for Crawford other than Spence and Porter? There's really nothing. Amir Khan, Kell Brook.
But some of that's not really his fault, though. We don't.
We're not talking about who's at fault. We're talking
was he on the wrong side of the street? Blah blah blah. The fact is that he didn't fight some of the fighters that he needed to fight.
Right.
Whether that was his fault or not, that's not the issue, though.
This is the same criteria Golovkin got put under, and everybody threw him, dragged his ass underneath the coals. But yet you do it to Spence, and everybody's like, "What the fuck's happening?" You do it to Crawford, and they're like, "Well, he fought, it's like, well, he's up 3 weight classes. Like, motherfucker, that guy, can you imagine a 135 pounder that's like 5'8" and has a 74-inch reach? I can't even think of anybody at that time that was that fucking big. He was taking advantage of guys, and he still got fucked up. Barrera buzzed his ass. It's not like he had like this epic campaign where he's going through the weight classes fucking people up. I just got off of a Thunderdome's channel. We're talking about how he didn't want to do shit in the Postall fight. He turned that into a fucking circus.
His biggest win at 140, because it is his biggest. Name me a bigger win at 140.
No,
I don't care if
that's his best win.
I don't give a shit about Ndongo.
That's his best win ever, Bucho. That's his best win out of all of them, in my opinion.
Ndongo was a unique case. He was a C+ fighter that was able to catch lightning in the bottle twice. Basically, he did what George Camboso did twice. He was able to beat some fighters that he wasn't supposed to beat twice, and he was able to get those belts. So he wasn't a one-hit wonder. He wasn't a one-hit wonder, and he traveled. So that's he
I'm not calling him a one-hit wonder, but we're talking about Crawford still, right?
Yeah, we're talking about. I'm saying
he's fucking humongous. He's finally inside of his weight class, though. So calling a guy that was humongous for the previous weight classes that he's been in up until now, it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to wrap my mind around calling him pound for pound. They're equating this to what Pacquiao did. That's not fair. It's not the same thing. Or what Hanoi doing. Like he was already a big guy, and he had the bone structure. He doesn't have very big bones, and he has a lot of muscle, so he can sweat it out. And he took advantage of guys that are much smaller than him. This happens all the time in MMA, boxing, and judo. This shit happens all the time,
Mhm.
and obviously it happens in boxing. I don't see why people aren't putting this together. He was fucking humongous back then.
I mean, the 47-pound division has been stagnant for a long time because of Spence's accident, and prior to him was Keith Thurman. It was held hostage by the PBC. Now Crawford's a champion right now, but really, if you think, he didn't fight Danny Garcia and maybe one or two other guys, but really the guys that are here now, well, Virgil Ortiz is gone because he's ill, and Boots Ennis, he hasn't faced him. So it's kind of like, dude, there's still questions to be answered if he can beat everybody. But obviously, he's not going to face those guys.
Well, people
He's
are acting
not.
like he's done, Gonzalo. People are acting like that's it. He's done it. He's done it all. Like he can just walk away from the sport and like
Exactly.
he's done. There's like you said, there's challenges.
No,
He
he's
fought
the
a
armor
Spence that
approach.
didn't show up, man. He fought a Spence that, I'm sorry, this guy was a hype job. He was. I mean, and
I think he was overhyped. I think overhyped is more like it. He was overhyped. He's a good fighter, but he's just overhyped, like by the
They're
fan
acting
base.
like he's beyond reproach now, some of his fans, which is fucking weird.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like you have like all the guys that we went back to this earlier, like look at his resume. Like there's nobody on there that's like that like jumps out. You're like, oh yeah, that's a fucking marquee win. He doesn't have one of those. If you were comparing to Oscar De La Hoya, he doesn't compare.
no. And by the way, some people are saying, "Oh no, it's Spence. He's a great fighter." The thing is, Crawford is an even greater fighter, and I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense because Sean Porter put on a better performance against Crawford than Spence. Amir
That's
Khan
true.
put on a better performance. You know, like it's just that doesn't make sense. How can Amir Khan put on a better performance? He didn't get washed in like since because let's be honest, Spence got from round 2. You could tell that this guy was gonna he was gonna get destroyed. There's other boxers that actually put up a fight against Crawford. Spence didn't.
I think
Kavalaskas
he
was also
tried.
talking about that. Kavalaskas also talked about this online that he did way better than all these so-called elites, except for Sean Porter. Sean Porter did better. I think he did better than Kavalaskas.
He's durable too. Sean Porter is like a fucking little fucking football player. He's like a little running back, so he can take a fucking beating. And that, another thing, that guy, he fought at 165 in the amateurs. So another guy that's meant to fucking take damage, but he couldn't fucking bust a grape.
Well, he
So that
fought
was-
5 or something like.
I know, but he was big. He fucking fought Usyk in the amateurs. Like he's bigger than people really understand. Like he was a big dude. Like all the guys that we're talking about, and we're talking about things in pound per pound criteria. All these guys fought at higher weight classes in their amateurs. But you talk about Golovkin, and people shit on him. He fought at 142 in the amateurs, and now he's at 160. He went up his natural weight and he stopped. Nobody gives him credit for that. You know, but yet you can have Earl Spence fight at 152, but he gets into the pros and he goes down to 147. That's a bitch. That's a bitch.
And I think that there's no way he's going to be the same now because the way I was watching this boxing gym thing about how much I think actually they said he landed 60%. I think Crawford actually landed more than 60%. If you actually watch the fight, he landed more than 60%.
He landed everything, man. Fuck yeah, he's higher.
You don't want to rely on copy box. I think we've had that conversation many times. It's fucking disgusting. So yeah, you could be right.
We have some comments here. I am your leader. He says he wasn't overrated. He's talking about Spence. He just killed his career with alcohol. He's been a drunk since 2018. I mean, that definitely didn't fucking help. Obviously, then being inactive for a long time. Yeah, that didn't help either.
Yeah, he could be right. I think the car crash didn't help. I mean, being an alcoholic's one thing, but I don't think flying through a windshield at 70 miles an hour does anything for you.
No.
I think it was the Texas heat, man, and cutting all that weight. He was depleted also, plus everything else.
He blows up. You're right, Gonzalo. Can you imagine if you're walking around 190 pounds and you're just like, well, I guess I have to cut 40 pounds off my fucking body. How long can you do that for? As a young man.
Besides all these things about the heat and the accident and this and that, like the guy was making mistakes where he would be open for counters. You know, he would step in with a punch. He was like sometimes he lunged in, like just terrible. Obviously, Crawford was gonna take advantage of those mistakes,
right?
And that's what happened. And that was terrible. Not terrible. I mean, I'm gonna exaggerate, but like he made a lot of mistakes that he could get away with other boxers, but not against Crawford.
Actually, if you watch the video of boxing gym, he made even bigger mistakes against Ugas Ugas, he's a basic high guard counter puncher. He couldn't even take advantage of all of them. He took advantage of maybe one time. One time he took advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. That fight also, like, Mr. BJ did an analysis, a pre-fight analysis where he analyzed the boxers and their mistakes and stuff like that. And those same mistakes that Crawford had been doing his whole career, he made them again in this fight, but this time he paid the price. That's it. He got stopped.
And you know what? It's not like Errol Spence didn't land. He landed some shots, but they just had no effect.
There's nothing on him though. And
it wasn't like Crawford didn't get hit at all. He did, bro. Not just that. Not just that, bro. Spence also got him into the ropes. Now imagine if it was somebody with, you know what I mean? If it was Spence at 154 with strength and good rehydration and shit, bro. He gets hurt.
That's why I was talking about that guy. He said, "Oh, you think Tszyu can beat Crawford?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's definitely a chance. There's definitely
that's a better.
We're going 154, man.
Bro, I don't even think he beat Charlo at 154.
Physically, that'll be his toughest fight.
Well, that's why I asked. Like, is it a foregone conclusion that Terence Crawford is going to dominate 154? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, bro. No, bro. Not at all, bro. Come on, bro. You think, bro? Come on, bro. Castaño, imagine what would Castaño do, bro? A master pressure fighter.
But here's the thing, though. Now it seems like Crawford is the next coming of Jesus Christ in boxing.
That's ridiculous.
I've always found him, when sometimes he can be a very exciting fighter, but sometimes but that thing that he pulled with the at 140. It killed his hype. So he went back to
the 140 escapade was horrific. That postal fight was terrible. And then he didn't defend the belts. That was crazy.
It's not a coincidence that the dude has always had lame ass fights, bro. His first real opponent is fucking Errol Spence. It's not a coincidence that just happened. The dude has always
I disagree with that. I think that when he went up to welterweight, he knew that he had to, be more exciting. He tried to talk more shit, all that other stuff. I remember when the Benavidez fight,
him taking it easy has always had him bro. Like he's never. This is why, bro. This is why.
I think he operates better in the higher weight classes. Personally, I think the faster guys give him more problems. He doesn't like that as much. He doesn't want to box with guys. He'd rather be the boxer and fight guys and be able to switch on and off between that. When you watch the Postol fight, a lot of people think that Postol's a bum. I saw somebody type that in the chat. I thought that was kind of funny. If you really watched that fight, Crawford didn't want to engage with him. And Postol's pretty he's kind of like what you would call like a linear boxer. He's pretty straight up and down. Crawford couldn't get past his fucking arm defense sometimes, just patting down jabs, and you could tell he was confused. That's why it turned into like a weird ass circus where he was doing all these wrestling moves on him and just trying to frustrate him. That was a terrible fight.
Yeah, I agree. But
it was pay-per-view as well, I believe.
I know, I bought it. I'm one of the morons that bought that shit. Never again.
I think it was his first pay-per-view.
$30K, Bucho. I think you did that on your channel later. Because I forgot who looked that up. Somebody looked that up, and you're like, yeah, it did $30K. I was like, oh my God.
At some point I thought that that Terence Crawford was gonna fight Spence the way he fought Postol. Very like hesitant, and that was why. But later on, I started to think, you know what? No, fuck it. I think Spence gonna knock this guy out. But that fight against Postol was terrible. So, anyways, Crawford, I think he's a little bit overrated, and people are gonna hate me in the chat. I already saw somebody call me a hater. But listen, that's just my opinion, seriously, and I can back it up.
Yeah, I think
he is overrated.
No, but he's got great skills. It's just that he doesn't have the opponents to be talked about the way he is.
Move up to 154. But he's 36, so I don't know. There's going to be excuses there. If he starts if he doesn't look that good at 154, people are going to start saying, well, he's old. And which is understandable. He's 36.
Yeah, he's 36.
We're pushing the limits here. Also,
Yeah, he's
26, it's not old, because
Yeah.
Floyd did it, Hopkins did it. It's like, who cares? These guys are like different, man.
But
How was go ahead.
Floyd was selective with 154. He was very selective. He only fought
Fight
he only
anybody
fought,
at 154. Think about that.
He fought
fought-
Canelo
no,
and De La Hoya.
yeah, he was very selective at who he fought at 154. He didn't fight no young, strong guys at all.
But what did he do afterwards that was actually crazier? He held that division on fucking hostage for 2 years. Can you imagine holding it? Because at least he vacated the other belts. I think one of them was on the line. I think he had the IBF. He dropped it immediately, but he held the WBC and WBA hostage for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give a fuck. They didn't fight anybody. They didn't say shit. And like you have Lara and all these other guys. What about? I remember Thunderdome talking about this a couple of times. Like, why didn't he fight Paul Williams? That he probably would have hated that fight, even though Paul Williams ended up getting beat later by Sergio Martinez and shit like that. But he would have hated that fight.
You know, exactly.
But the thing is that he already has Hall of Famers on his record. Terrence doesn't have Hall of Famers. Terrence doesn't have Hall of Famers on his record.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame for no.
I don't think so, man. I think that people. I think people are gonna. I think people are gonna look back. I think people are gonna look back at it more reflectively, and I don't think he's gonna get in. I don't think he's gonna get in. He just hasn't done enough.
The selection process
I think
is
now
not.
is the time to look at this guy reflectively. I think it should be now. And they still think that Spence is such a great fighter, but it's just that Crawford is even greater. He's Sugar Ray Leonard, basically. It's ridiculous. Spence is gonna be in the Hall of Fame.
If that was the case, though, Butcher, that actually shows you like how bad the era is right now. That's terrible.
Yeah, I talked about that. I called in. I said there's very few great fighters. The only guys that really got great fighters.
With the ones we've had, we've killed their careers. We've killed them off. Like, look at Lomachenko. He was doing fine, just robbing. Look at Roman Gonzalez, robbing. Look at fucking Triple G, robbing. They do this over and over again because these fucking people don't fit the prototype or the mold, rather.
The thing is that Chocolatito's going to the Hall of Fame. No, I said this. The only weight division that's got great fighters and they're going to the Hall of Fame is that 115. All them dudes are going to the Hall of Fame. One besides going to the Hall of Fame. I think Estrada's definitely going. Chocolatito's definitely going. Kazuto's definitely going. All those guys are shoo-in. Easy.
It's the best way possible.
What if Spence keeps on fighting? Because he's broken now, and the blueprint's out there, basically. I'm not exaggerating. People are going to go in there and try to fuck him up, and they're going to touch him, and he's going to fucking fall like a deck of cards.
Yeah,
I think that's accurate. How many guys have we seen over the past fall apart after they lose? We've seen this over and over again. We know this happens to fighters. They rely on. I don't know if he's really dependent on being an undefeated fighter, but he got broken down on national TV, and maybe that's what hurts him more is that this guy really outdogged me, and that's what he relies on. That's not good for him. That's how he fights. What's he going to go back to? I'm going to become a boxer now? That's off the fucking table. That should have happened like 20 years ago. That's not in his repertoire.
I mean, if he comes back and then loses 3 in a row, maybe 3 out of 4 fights, I doubt he goes into the Hall of Fame.
Really?
I don't know.
He has better accolades than Gotti.
Yeah.
He does. I don't
Gotti fought Hall of Famers. Gotti fought Hall of Famers.
We forget there's a rematch. Apparently, it's happening, right?
Yeah, but I heard Terrence is being difficult about it. He said he wants more money. He wants it to be at 148 or something like that.
Well, you can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. Think about this logically. No. If you're going to go down low,
doesn't he want to?
If it's going,
doesn't he want to face Charlo at 54? Doesn't he want to go up and face Canelo at 168? So why not prepare yourself if you are thinking about really moving up? Why do you want to so dehydrate this dude?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a bitch move. I agree, Hearns.
I think this is bullshit. This whole Canelo stuff. And I think he's just trying to get out this the rematch. I don't think he wants to fight Spence, not because he's going to lose. It just doesn't.
He's not going to do well. He's not going to do well against.
It's not going to sell. It's not going to sell.
Not gonna
Canelo
sell,
likes
huh?
to crouch
Gonna get-
underneath you. These are the guys that fucking hurt Crawford in the past. Guys that get down and they crouch underneath his looping shots, i.e. Barrera and guys like that. They get underneath them and they don't see the punches coming. What the fuck do you think Canelo does? He's going to hit like 4 times harder than that. He's going to be on the fucking floor. I don't give a fuck what version we get of Canelo either. I know he's getting older, but that... if we're talking punch for punch, Canelo's only going to have to connect on him a couple times for him to realize what the fucking difference is. He's been getting hit by guys in 8-ounce gloves.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I'm starting to hear a lot of people say that that Crawford actually has a chance. And I'm seeing now people saying Crawford wins this fight, which is funny because before when Canelo, when they mentioned this fight to Canelo and Canelo said he wasn't interested, a lot of people were saying, yeah, why should Crawford fight super middleweight? But then when Crawford kind of like hinted at the fact that he might be interested in this fight or something like that, then people started saying, oh no, Crawford has a chance. Like,
But
what the hell's
Crawford,
going on?
he's just trying to cash out because he wants to cash out. He wants to lead the sport like super rich. Yeah, I think he's already well
I don't
off.
blame him. Why not? Take the fight. But I'm just saying, like, looking at the fight, like, does he even have a chance? I don't think so.
I think people are
To
looking
me,
at
he
the
doesn't look like
solution.
the type of guy that could put on the weight to fight at 168 because his body, from the shoulders, from the torso, it looks slender, man. He's a strong. Don't get me wrong. They say he's a strong, but it doesn't look like he can bulk up. Really, it would kind of be like the Deontay Wilder effect. I know, at a different weight class, obviously,
man.
but
it'd be
I'll
horrible.
I'll put it this way, Gonz. I think if you left him alone and like he wasn't training, yeah, he probably could walk around 180 pounds. But once he hits the road and he starts you start boxing, he's not going to wear that kind of weight naturally. Now you have to bulk him up and make him heavier than he's what he's used to being. He's not going to be as fast. Honestly, I think that's a recipe for disaster. If he were to do that fight, if I was him, I'd come in at like 160, even if it was at 168. Because that's fucking crazy. You're going to put on a whole bunch of fucking weight and fight it, and it's just going to weigh you down. You know you need to rely on speed to fucking survive against this guy.
Yeah, because he got power when he gets leverage on his shots, just like a bow and arrow. If it's too close, put a bow and arrow against a heavy bag. And try to pull it back, it's because it don't have power. But if you separate yourself and you create some distance, that's where he gets his power from the speed.
Right.
No, there's no height difference really, right? I mean,
not especially. I'll bet you Crawford. I think Canelo's height's a little bit exaggerated. I'll bet you Canelo's around 5'7". Crawford's around 5'8".
Some people say. Okay, what about the reach?
I think Crawford has like 4 inches on him.
So, I mean, Gonzalez talking about the weight that can Crawford put on the weight. I mean, that's an issue, but still, Crawford has like long fucking arms, and
I know. Do you think putting weight on those long ass arms is going to benefit him? I think that's
It won't help him.
That's not good.
That's bad.
It won't.
That's bad.
Yeah,
just like Wilder.
Let's ask Jimmy here. Jimmy, are you there? Jimmy, probably not.
Yo, what's going on, brother? What's going on,
What's up,
Bucho? How
Jimmy?
you doing, kid?
Pretty good, man. I hope you're doing well. Jimmy, Crawford moving up in weight, is that a good idea? How much would that affect his skills and everything? Just putting on weight.
Well, it's going to slow him down. If he goes up 3 weight classes, he's never fought above 147. If he goes and fights at 168 without a warm-up or at least a couple of warm-ups, it's going to negate a lot of what he does because he punches between punches. He catches you at the end of your shit when you fuck up. He makes you pay.
Right.
In that split second you have against Canelo, regardless, even if Canelo's at 80% and you're not able to capitalize on it, there can be all the difference. On top of that, it can also affect your chin. The reason being, when you're sucking air, when you get tired, you're more likely to get knocked out. When you're sucking air and you're starving your body, starving for oxygen, you're pumping your heart. You get less oxygen in your bloodstream, and you're easier, more receptive to be knocked out. It's the reason why alcoholics go out like that. Somebody's fucking shit-faced, barely give them half a smack, and they go out cold because they have no oxygen in their blood.
Oxygen deprivation. Right.
So exactly. So the heavy legs, they play like I would just think it would be for one thing only money. But this kid's on the verge of like doing crazy things. I mean, he's got 10 more fights. If he can go 10 more fights without losing, he beats fucking Mayweather's record. You know what I mean? That's gonna wait till he's 48-0, and you get some people upset.
Well, 10 fights? He's 36.
Yeah,
and
no way.
You
I'm not
fight
saying no
twice
way.
a year. I mean,
if he was fighting like in the old days, you could bang that out in 3 years, but
You could. You could.
Right?
You
10
can
fights, I
imagine
know
it.
that would take about 12 years in today's space.
You put him on a Bum on the Month tour. That could happen, but people don't fight like that now. I don't think they want to throw fights like that now. I think the promotions are just like incredibly weak, where they can't throw fights like that.
Guys, in the chat,
Canelo's the last 60 fighter. Sorry, Bucho, what's that?
Omar's asking in the chat, who would Crawford warm up against at 168? Who would you guys pick as a warm up?
Oh, it would be anybody, any top 50 guy.
Who's that idiot? No.
Like meaning anybody, meaning like not a weighted guy.
Berlanga. That's who I have him in there with. Berlanga.
Really?
Somebody else. Yeah.
I'd give him to Gabe Rosado.
Drain his ass.
I'd give him to Gabe.
Drain his ass down, have him embarrass him in front of like everybody. That guy's a fucking sitting object. That's who I put him in there with. Because people will think that he's a tough dude because of his size. And that guy really can't box too well anymore. He really can't. He needs to go up and fucking weight. I mean, when he does, he has slow ass feet.
They're too big. You see, right now, if you picture this Crawford against a 68-pounder, that's not the Crawford you're going to get at 68. It's going to be a different fighter. When he adds on that weight, it's not going to be the same. He's going to be another fighter.
Berlanga reminds me of like Roy Jones fighting like John Ruiz, where you have like that stagnant idiot just standing there, and you have the guy that has like all the speed but not enough power to put him down. It'll be just like that.
That fight was terrible. You know, Roy Jones could have knocked out John Ruiz, by the way. He just didn't want to. I don't know why. He didn't want to take a chance or something, but he hurt John Ruiz in the 4th round. That's crazy, considering he was a light heavyweight.
I heard that TFBMO said he could have knocked out Josh, but for some reason he didn't do it either.
Maybe.
I think so too.
Yeah, that Josh Taylor looked like crap. I don't understand what happened.
He was done at 140. He was done at 140.
Dude, that guy's taller than I am, and I walk around at 183 pounds. That's crazy. He's killing himself.
Yeah, think about it, Bucho. Even his great wins, right? I mean, all his big victories, which he had a lot. He had a run there for like 2 years. He was banging out all the top guys. But it was, even in victory, a lot of them were right on the mark. You know what I mean? Like they were close, razor thin.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was going out there like blowing dudes out. So when he suddenly got ring rust, and what's the first thing he said? The same thing fucking Spence said, and the same thing fucking everybody says in that situation, that think they can fucking be a part-time fighter and go in and fucking fight. Jesus, my timing, I saw the shot, but I couldn't take it. Yeah, no shit. It's reflexive. Boxing is reflexive. If you're thinking in there, you're dead, man. You're a dead man. It has to be without thinking.
That's
this is another one, Jimmy. This is another one.
Jimmy.
Yeah, sorry, Quicks.
No, you're
in hindsight. I know this is very unpopular, but Pro Breeze is kind of overrated too. So that win.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that
he's overrated.
I'm starting to realize that myself.
Probably needs a good fight, though.
He's a good fighter, but he's getting overrated.
I think he needs a good fight. He's not motivated for these type of fights.
I'm curious, guys. Let's see if Spence and his fans, because I noticed the last few days on Twitter, I don't really tweet too much, but I read it anyways. They're starting to come back out of the woodwork and starting to fucking say stupid shit, right? Oh my God, it's terrible. So
I saw the crazy shit.
Yeah, dude, just nuts, just stupid shit to say. Why don't you get in the ring with him? That's their big thing. If he's so overrated, why don't you fight him? It's really that's your gauge. But anyways, the thing is, Spence is probably gonna be like, okay, let's not piss him off too much this time, because this is 100% on him what that weight is at. If he wants a 147, it's a 147. It's 154, it's at 154. It's all the ball's in his court. He decides. Like, fuck around, find out. You know what I mean?
Did you hear him?
He's trying to Jimmy. If they do that, but if Crawford, he said he wanted to exercise that at 148. If I'll Spence like, fuck you, let's just do it at 147. At least give me the chance to get my belts back. That doesn't make sense. 148 is stupid. That doesn't make any. That doesn't make any kind of fucking real sense.
He's trying to get a bigger payday. He's trying to get that. I think he might actually try to cash out against Canelo.
That's the
what he's
same
trying to
shit
do.
Canelo did, though, having that 155-pound weight class. That made you guys understand that, like, most commissions give you an extra pound outside for title fights. So, like, that made as a boxing fan watching that, I was like, what in the fuck? And it's like, why would you make that the weight class? And the only logical sense you can make is that you have to drop the maximum amount of weight to fight me. And that's what he's trying to do to him. That's fucked up.
Well, it doesn't really matter. He's gonna fucking blow him out if it's a 154 or 147. That dude is done. His coordination is over. You know what I mean? His coordination is shot. His balance is gone. He's got his punch resistance is shot.
Well, I agree, Jimmy, but you can't, like, it'd be easier for you to, like, toot that horn if he kills him at 154 then.
Right, you gotta do it.
No, absolutely. But if Spence is like this, I mean, Crawford's like this. Put yourself in his shoes for fight. That's why on all these podcasts and like he's kind of put the spell the whole. Well, he's a PBC guy. A lot of them like leaned on that, right? Well, he's a PBC fighter. He kind of made that fucking fact like couldn't separate himself anymore. I don't know if you guys seen the shit he's been saying and tweeting out like. You know, just basically calling out the PBC and all the welterweights. My, how the fucking tables have turned. Now, you even create, like you talked about how they created us language, wrong side of the street, all this shit, and they tormented with them. They fucked with him for 5 years. And now he's like, I make the calls. Like, he sweated that dude for 5 fucking years. And, you know what? Credit to Spence, because if it wasn't for him, that fight wouldn't have taken place.
But I can tell you why that happened, though. It happened because Terence Crawford is not a compelling character. He's not interesting. He doesn't say.
Yeah, that doesn't matter, bro. He was the number one ranked. He was the number one ranked welterweight. Everybody in boxing was calling for the fight, and at every turn, Spence chose to fight. Came up from 140.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about him fighting Spence before he even got to 147. When he got to 147, he sees Spence face to face. Let's do it. No. You got to get a belt first. Okay, get a belt. He gets a belt. Okay, let's do it. No, I'm fighting these guys. It was one thing after another, but that was the fight everybody was asking for.
Because if fighting at the same weight class, then people can say, yes, they should fight each other. There's an expectation there.
Yeah, but that wasn't an opinion.
Once you're coming from a lower weight class, it is.
But he was world champion, though, brother.
It is at the discretion, brother.
No.
It's at the discretion of the fighter if they would like to fight that.
Exactly, and Crawford was the best possible opponent he could fight at 147. He just proved that in spades. And the fact is, Spence avoided it for years. For years, he avoided that fight.
No.
It's no hindsight. No hindsight. I said exactly what was going to happen.
No,
I said he was going to make easy work out of him.
He was following Al Heyman's plan. Al Heyman laid out the plan.
He did. You're right. You're right. And if it wasn't for Spence, I'll reiterate it. If it wasn't for Spence, that's why Crawford made a point to tell him this fight only happened because of you. Al Heyman did not want this fight to happen. He tried to pawn him off with Canelo a year and a half earlier, remember? They were trying to talk about making that fucking Canelo fight. That's how bad
his fans said that he was going to beat the fuck out of Canelo. His fans like, we're going to beat him.
Oh, yeah, they were all saying that on Twitter. He was going to beat the shit out of Canelo. Well, he could go up and beat Bivol, they were saying. They were saying so much ridiculous shit.
Who was going to beat Canelo? Spence or Crawford?
That's what Spence's fans were saying when Al Heyman tried to make this. When he was first signed,
there was like a 2-year tirade of that shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. When Canelo first signed, when he first signed to fight Caleb Plant, right? When he first signed with the PBC for that fight, they tried to make a 3-fight deal, and they said, "This is what we want to do. It was going to be Plant, then Spence." And they tried. There was money offers being thrown around because it was a cash out. Because if Spence loses there, it doesn't matter. Coming up through weight classes.
Could you fucking really imagine what Canelo would have done to Spence? I'm dead ass serious. That version of Spence, I know he would have been heavier weight, but that being said, can you imagine with that style and that version of him, what Canelo would have done to him?
That is knockout.
That would have been. He would have carted. They would have dragged his ass out of the fucking ring. That would have been the kind of
But
shit that you would have seen on
I
like
don't
fucking
blame.
HBO if it was
I
still
don't
around.
blame Errol Spence. I blame Derek James. Derek James has taught them the bad technique to box with high guard.
That's what he knows, though. I honestly
No. This guy had Olympic training. If he was trained properly, he would not fight the way that he does. He don't even.
Yeah, all James
we'll
fighters
never
fight the
know.
same style.
I think-
Charlos, they all have the same style. A large step jab. They really
But he's
overcommit
better,
their jab. They
though. How
really
come
open up
Charlo's
their.
But Jimmy, we agree Charlo's better, right? Even with
Yeah,
Derek
Charlo's
James.
better, but that's because
I think
He's better than Spence. You know what I mean? Like, how come
Well,
he
he
fights
is.
I can tell you
No,
why.
no, listen, no, yeah, I'm talking about like a 30,000-foot view. If you really
I
look
can
at their
tell you why.
style,
I can tell you why
they
Charlo is
jab
better.
the same. The
I can tell
1-2
you why Charlo
punch.
is better. His reading is
Yeah.
better because every elite fighter that you see, the other people in their camp don't fight the way that they do, even though they have the same trainers. And the reason for that is because their style is developed due to several different things. First of all, the body type of the fighter. Second of all, their extensive training. How much amateur experience do they have? Olympic experience, etc. Plus, even with the training that they get, they apply it differently. That's why you'll never find, even fighters who have the same trainer, you will never find two fighters that fight the exact same way. And of course, they may have a minimum level of competency. They may have some certain level of skill, but it's just not going to be the same. And you will rarely find one trainer with 2 or 3 elite people. It almost never happens. They'll only have one person that is elite there, and then the rest will be struggling to get by.
So you would say that Jermel would be much better without Derek James?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like Jamel, luckily for him, he's good. If you see the Brian Castano fight, he got hit a lot, dude. And not just hit, he even got hit on the ropes, which is the most dangerous place to get hit. I mean, come on, man. This is when Chris Eubank Jr. had Bomac in his corner during the fight that he had. Bomac was telling him things inside the fight. Even I was, listening, thinking, damn. Because at first, everybody thought Bomac could come there, collect a paycheck, go home, Eubank could get knocked out. He was telling Eubank in real time, look, step aside, you're standing still too much. You're you have to dip your head in, you have to turn this way, you have to turn that. Like real time instructions that were actually applicable. I was impressed. So once you get the right, and to be honest, I think part of the reason that Terence Crawford is the way that he is because Bomac is in his corner telling him the right things to do. Unfortunately, you need the best of the best trainers that have the right instructions. You just need that. And Derek James.
But the thing is, if Derek James is so bad, like how did he manage to have a world champions? You know what I mean?
I think Spence actually left. I mean, it's a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not because lots of people post garbage online. But I heard that Spence actually left Derek James. I don't know if that's true or not.
He's still with them.
Yeah, he is. But if you think about how he's trained him, like Derek James accentuated what Spence does. So if you watch him in the amateurs, like he was a little bit linear in regards to how he got in. But after he gets done with that, he completely falls in. He likes to put his head on your chest and he likes to bust body shots. He accentuated that. He made that, he's like, this is what you do, I'm going to make this better. Which is a good trait to have for a trainer. The problem is that there's no fucking backup plan. And we've seen this with him in the past Crawford fight. In my opinion, I think we've seen this in other fights with him as well, where he's gotten buzz and he's actually doubled down on just getting meaner. He didn't adjust and back out. He just actually doubled down and just like, I'm going to dog this out and beat you down. And I think that's actually...
Spence has never done anything but go forward. He can't fight going backwards at all.
I feel like he had a better pedigree in the amateurs a little bit, Jenny.
Yeah, but just going forward. But his whole pro career has been going forward. He doesn't know how to fight. All his combinations are thrown off coming forward, bringing all his weight forward. And that's why even Al Bernstein said I believe in the 5th round, when Crawford started having him going backwards, he goes, this is really bad for Spence because this isn't what he does. Because he just doesn't have the coordination. That's why you can see his balance. But even that second, the double right hook that put him down, if you look, his feet were all caught up.
Yeah.
It was kind of off. I mean, he was hurt, no doubt about it, but he was off balance. And again, listen, he can do whatever he wants. He's a grown ass man. I'm just saying it is what it is. But he's even come out now. I don't know if you guys saw that podcast where he came out and said, I was drinking and everything. And like even after my crash, I was partying and drinking and everything. He kept stressing everything. Come on. Yeah. I mean, what is with every boxer, dude? He's usually fucking drinking and fucking doing gaggers.
Most boxers do cocaine. Most boxers do cocaine
yeah.
because it doesn't affect the system as much as it does other drugs. Like, it's not going to fuck your lungs up. It will fuck up, like, how you feel the next day. God knows, like, if you do cocaine and you hop in the ring, that's probably not a great idea unless you're on it at that moment, which we've seen that.
Yeah, if you're on it at that moment, you're good. But if it's the day after, you feel like fucking, you're going to feel like ass. But it's the booze.
Ain't gonna work.
It's the booze is what that gives you wet brain and fucking.
They're commingled. They're commingled, aren't they?
Yeah, but the booze is because booze and benzos are the only two drugs that your body doesn't produce. That's the reason why you can have a seizure and die. You won't OD on. I mean, you won't die coming off any drug, even heroin, meth, anything, except for benzos and alcohol, because your body doesn't naturally produce them. So it's very toxic to your liver and eats muscle. It affects your coordination, balance. And all those things were on fucking major display against Crawford. Now think about it, guys. 2 years. What did he fight? One fucking time, and he was drunk every weekend. And the fucking he did that video, dude. You want to go to Dubai, baby? His wife was trying to fucking embarrass him to say, like, look at how you are, dude.
He was on something else, though. That was
probably a lot of shit, but he was definitely shit-faced too.
Yeah,
baby.
Yeah, no, he was
I don't
out.
feel sorry for a person as a professional fighter who conducts himself that way, because Roy Jones, for example, Mayweather, they did not take a single drink. They did. Plus, also going back to the idea that the trainer can actually change your style. If you look at Deontay Wilder after he left Mark Breland, he got what's his name, Malik Scott. He got Malik Scott, and then he fought
the guy he knocked out.
Helenius.
That makes sense.
Robert Helenius. Malik Scott taught Deontay Wilder how to fight going backwards. That's why Wilder was able to throw the knockout punch coming off the ropes and also going backwards.
I'm sorry.
Also, Helenius said in an interview he had sparred Wilder before extensively, so he was used to his style, but he was shocked and surprised how Wilder kept on going backwards. So he heard the 10-second knock go and thought, okay, this is the time to now jump on him because he keeps on going back, and that's when he got. This shows how imperative it is to have a trainer that's a tactician.
But hang on for a second. Not to be mean or anything, but you think Malik is a better tactician than Mark Breland? Mark Breland's an excellent coach.
What do you disagree?
Wilder's a fucking idiot.
He's the best.
Who's the best?
Mark Breland's an excellent coach.
No, Mark Breland is much better. No, I thought you were talking about the other guy.
Mark Breland was a fucking fabulous amateur boxer. Was one of the best amateur boxers
so
I ever saw.
The other guy, the white, not the black, the white guy.
Oh, that I don't know.
Come on,
dude. Yeah, the rival dude, the guy who's sponsored by Rival. I think I think that guy's like a vice president for the Rival company in America. That's what his affiliation is. I swear to God.
Crime reporter. Used to be a crime reporter, apparently.
Oh. Well, there you have it. Hey, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think that Derrick James knows that Spence has no chance of winning a rematch?
Yes.
Yes.
I think no chance. I think no chance is crazy, but I would say like their chance is under 25%. So if you want to look at how the
no chance.
But that's not no chance. He has a 25% chance. Like
hell.
Here's the problem with this fight, though.
He's a bunch of chance.
There's no money being offered.
My God.
They're not offering up. They're not offering any money to these guys. The reason being, how are you going to sell it? No, I mean nobody was calling for a fucking rematch. He won one round. He won one fucking round out of 8. You know what I mean? And the numbers were insane. Crawford landed 60% of his fucking power shots. He at 4 out of the 8 rounds, Spence only landed 10 or less shot punches. I mean, it was a one-sided domination. So it's a hard fight to sell in a rematch and then put it on pay-per-view. So, like, that's the reason why Crawford's probably fucking with him right now and saying 148. They're probably going to say, like, yeah, I'm going to make this miserable unless real money isn't thrown my way. And it's not going to be a 50-50 split either.
Well,
I mean, you can't walk in there take a beating like that and make big demands.
So that means he's going to cut into his purse because they're only going to give him so much money. So that means he's pretty much he's insinuating it's like you're going to take if you really want this fight for your legacy or whatever it is, you're going to take the smaller portion of this. Like I'll bet you that's anywhere from, in my opinion, that's probably going to be like a 75-20 to 70-30 fight. Probably 70-30 is more realistic. But I'll bet you Crawford he's been pretty ruthless lately in regards to negotiations. That's been going under the radar. He's been playing the game like how all the other fighters do. Like when a lot of these weight clauses shit. Why was Spence so fucking bad? And why was that fight and how they made that fight? It was like kind of like, yep, you're doing it. Like, oh, okay. That's fucking crazy. You know, he was a fat fuck at the time. That was a big ass fat camp for him.
He didn't want a rematch. A warm up. He didn't want one, and they weren't offering him one. Maybe they knew that his drinking had caught up to him. I think he's taking this rematch out of pride because he feels he has to. I don't see nothing to gain for it, especially the money. I mean, it only sold 600,000 only, which is good in today's standards. But for what people were calling it the fight, all-time greatest welterweight fight, that's not good. When two Americans are only selling 600,000, Do
you think there's everybody telling Spence don't take the fight?
Sorry?
Probably family members. People who love him. People who care about his fucking health.
I mean, his fans are not like being real fans here because I don't see any fans saying no, you don't take the rematch. There's no point. Like they
really want the rematch. A lot of them really want the rematch. Some of them don't. A few don't. But
I heard a lot of people saying that Spence is gonna easily win it. It's like that. Like they really think that like he's gonna come back. I was like, God damn! Like usually I say that shit.
I saw a couple of challenges. Pull counter boxing was one of them. He's like, oh man, Spence is gonna come back and beat him. I'm like, what the fuck? No, it's not.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that
there was so emotionally invested.
But I heard a couple people say, dude, that he's gonna come back. He's gonna come back and he's gonna beat the shit out of him this time. It's like, how in the fuck would you even come up with that?
He would have to do something he has never done.
He had no opening whatsoever in that fight. It's not like he exploited something on Crawford. It's like, oh, if you just change this, you'll get the better of him. No.
Yeah.
You were fucked up the entire time. He was almost fucked up after round 3. It was almost a wrap. He had him on fucking skates. And they're acting like... Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, 154 the second round is when he clipped him. If you go back and watch the fight, I've watched it so many times. That was the punch that changed it all. It was right at the end of the second round. He caught him with a right cross. Al Bernstein mentioned, he said, I don't know if you guys saw that. It happened so quick. He got in a real nice right cross that caught him right on the button, and you could just see his whole face change. His eyes opened up wide. He got a little off balance. He got a little goofy leg for a split second, but then he backed off. He stopped going forward the rest of the round. And Crawford, of course, I mean, he's going to notice anything like that. And that's when he jumped on him in that round, decided to lighten him up a little bit because he sensed it. He knew he caught him. It was just enough. If it was another inch into the jawline, he would have probably knocked him out or knocked him down at least.
I want to just remind everybody, anybody can join. The link is in the description. The link is in the chat. And I want to read a comment from FUTV. He says, maybe if Spence wasn't drained and Crawford can't load his gloves, maybe Spence could win.
What? Oh my God! Are we really going to do the loaded glove thing?
Yeah,
all right, hang on.
I'm just going to trolling.
The trainer actually checked he was checking.
Anybody here do amateur boxing?
No.
Yep.
Okay. How hard is it for you to load your gloves just for amateur boxing?
I don't know. It's possible. I mean, you can't really do it.
It's damn near impossible. It'd have to be inside the glove already. If they would have to check the fucking
Crabs,
glove, and they don't even do that.
Have that dude call in. If that dude's serious, because when I see that, read that, that's a troll. That's somebody just trolling, trying to light up the panel. You know what I mean? So like, call in. If you believe that, call in. State your facts. State why you think it was because he was weight trained, and make sure you show the evidence that prior to that fight against DSG, against Ugas, you complained about the weight train, and you complained about it then too. Don't make it seem like you just mentioned it now for the first time when he fights Crawford after he gets throttled.
The chat,
You know what it sounds like.
The trainer did not touch the knuckles. The trainer did not touch the knuckles. I don't know which.
What does that mean?
Trainer.
What the fuck? Okay.
Maybe in the dressing room, he's saying. I don't know.
So Spence's people were sitting there watching his hands get wrapped and sitting there watching him load his gloves, and they were like, "Yeah, that should really cripple him."
Can I say something that's slightly off subject? And a lot of people don't realize this, but if you guys, and this is kind of going on to Tyson. Remember how they talked about Tyson Fury loaded his gloves? Go watch George Foreman when he fought Michael Moore. Look at how his gloves flop around the same way. You know why? He has big ass fucking hands, and he's probably using horsehair gloves. They bend over like that. I can bend my hand over almost like 60 degrees over itself. I feel like it. And people really don't understand.
All crinkled up. Yeah,
they don't understand what the fuck they're looking at. Like this glove, this like a glove altering shit is like the only time I've really seen this been applicable for a conversation is what Precise presented with the Cunningham fight when the actual commission looked at the thumb of the gloves, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" And he's like, and he paused it, and everybody's like looking at the fucking glove, like it was like, "Oh shit, what?" It was a doctored ass thumb. It looked like a fucking battering ram.
Everybody's hands are already fucking loaded. Why do you think they're wrapped? They're not wearing boxing gloves to protect their head. They're wearing boxing gloves to protect their hands. That's the reason why bare knuckle fights, even when pro boxers do it, they don't throw nowhere near the punches, and they don't throw the same zip on them because they won't fold their hand over. Man, if you knows what they're doing, wrap your hands, you can walk up and punch a fucking wall. Your hands are already fucking like casts. You know what I mean? So loaded with what? They're already made to the point you can fucking punch a fucking I-beam and not hurt your hand. So why the fuck would you add something to it that would hurt your knuckles?
It's like this, Jimmy. Like all the gyms, all the bags at my gym, they're probably way over. Not all of them, but most of them well over 200 pounds. They're big ass bags. And if you walk up to them and punch them with a bare ass fist, like you really have to like tell your mind, like I'm gonna punch this bag. Versus if your hands all wrapped up and you have a glove around it, you just fucking strike that shit. And if you don't have like the best fist when you impact, it doesn't affect you. So you have bare fist against that much stagnant weight, it's gonna transfer into your fucking wrist. And you have a bad like kinetic chain, you're gonna break something.
Yeah, and this is a lot of people. No matter, it's crazy how much people, a lot of these boxing channels, they don't know anything about this stuff. They let themselves be deceived by guys like Deontay Wilder, who went out publicly, made a video, said that Wilder had egg weights in his gloves and all this other stuff, and this whole nonsense with the Inoue thing, where they said that he was stacking his gloves or something, even though
he wasn't. Yeah, I hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can actually. I heard that someone told me that you can actually wrap it the same way you do in Japan, the same way you can do it in Vegas. They allow that.
It's the same. I'll put it this way: the Japanese wrap that they did is the same wrap you're allowed to do in California and Texas. I don't know if they allow you to do in Vegas necessarily.
Yeah, it's the same you're allowed Vegas.
Yeah, someone told me that you can do it in Vegas too. So I'm like,
you can put a pre-wrap down. Listen, it
was that, and they also accused him of taking steroids. Well, a guy from FloydHype.com, the site that Fight Hype, Floyd owns that. Just in case people don't know that, but he financed it, so that's why the link's so heavy. But that guy even put out an apology. The kid who works there with the hair parted on the side, because out of nowhere, what he did was, Inoue complained that Vada was showing up twice in 1 week, and all he said was, "Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck? This is like disruptive. I already got. Why is it over testing?" That's all he did. He never said he wasn't going to take any. He never ducked out on him. That's all he said. But that dude went on a live and said, "To me, that sounds like he doesn't want to take him," and that was all it took. Videos, boom, 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 popped up everywhere. Talking about how he was a drug cheat. And that was the narrative after the fight. He was a drug cheat, and he used loaded gloves and his, the illegal wraps. And there's a reason. Inoue during the fight was yelling at Fulton, pointing with his left hand. He pointed to his right hand a couple of times after he rocked him. And that's why I know for a fact, man, in my heart, that he could have stopped him in the 5th round, but he carried him on to the 7th. I think he wanted to fucking. He wanted to give it to him. Fulton didn't call for a rematch.
Yeah,
Notice that?
Rematch. Yeah, rematch. He said he wants a rematch.
Not right away. He called for it.
I'll put it this way. I understand the argument back in the day. The commissions were dog shit. You had people getting fed fucking like methamphetamines like while they're in the ring. God knows, yeah, they did probably doctor the gloves sometimes, and people did get fucked up. Good luck doing that now. They even sign off after you're done getting wrapped up. I had this for amateur fights, where after I got wrapped up, they would like X off your fucking cast on your hands to make sure nothing's done afterwards for an amateur fight. So what in the fuck do you think they're doing for pro fights? What is going on? What the fuck do you think is really going on? If people like us and like lower tier fucking peons are fighting under this criteria, how in the fuck are they not at the professional level? It's stupid. It's like
They are. But Wilder,
it's more stringent, though, is my point.
Let me say this. Wilder and Fulton's team, they blatantly lied. That's my problem with it. They blatantly lied. They just to do all this stuff. Wilder, he lied to get people to buy the pay-per-view, because there was a lady who actually showed the fight on YouTube before it was taken down, and then she would say when he knocked him down, that's what she was saying. That's what you get for cheating. That's what you get for cheating. So Wilder was able to get people to watch this fight, buy his pay-per-view, by lying on Tyson, trying to destroy his reputation.
That narrative.
There should be consequences for making.
There should be. Because
honestly, Pacquiao sued. How much money did Pacquiao sue Floyd for saying that he was on steroids? A lot of people don't talk about that.
Undisclosed. It was undisclosed. It was it was sealed. They couldn't say what he was paid.
I bet he regrets that. Just
Fulton, there was consequences like that night. I think Inoue was the best he ever looked. He was fired up. He was motivated. And of all the comments, he only gets all this hype because he's a Japanese person. That was on the fucking headlines all over fucking Japan. Because listen, American boxers kind of arrogant. They think like, you know what I mean? It is what it is. And sometimes the Asian culture doesn't get treated with the respect like the warrior culture Japanese is, and it's a fucking their motto is peace. They don't want chaos in their life. They don't want trouble. But when there is trouble, they'll lay their life down without question. So but they're very honorable people. So you can't you go into his home country and start questioning he's a drug cheat.
Yeah, that's a no-go.
Raps, fucking saying that he's a hype job because of his ethnicity. That's why he caught the beating he caught.
That's a no-go though. You can't do that with I think you guys know this. I did a lot of judo when I was younger. I know how these fucking people operate. They don't fucking put up with disrespect at all. And they don't give a fuck about they don't give a fuck about what you think about the raps. This is how we do it every time. Why has nobody complained about it other than you? They'll literally turn it around. They're the most logical people you'll fucking encounter.
They were just scared. Honestly, I think his team was scared of because they knew that he couldn't beat him. I think his trainer knew that he couldn't beat him. Because the way he was talking to him in the corner and come on, man. But I don't think he could. I just don't think that Fulton was, he didn't have the experience to be a guy like Inoue. Because he's different. He's a lot different from Figueroa, a guy who's big, who uses his size to wear you down. Figueroa is a guy that actually uses his size. A lot of people have size, but they don't use it. But
this one dude in the chat saying that boxing has no honor. That's fucking crazy. That's
It doesn't have-
by definition, by pugilism. Then I would just throw you on the ground and break your neck. What do you mean by that? There's rules. That's
it
honor.
wasn't a question of the sport have honor, but a person can have honor. The sport in itself doesn't have honor,
But but he insinuated boxing.
Whatever. You know, people can have their opinion, but I know the Japanese culture, like you just don't do that. You don't insult them like that, right? And there's a reason why he was pointing to his glove. And if you notice, he beat him in every capacity. He beat him in boxing. He beat him in the hand speed. He beat him in athleticism. Like all the things. Like those people making videos, man. He's just never fought an American black fight. He has no idea what he's in for. Blah blah blah. And they just, dude, they were pumping that shit out, video after video after video. And you know, so bang, he got what he got. And it's
now he's saying it's a business. Did you know that, Jimmy?
What's that?
Did you know that Did you know boxing's a business? No shit.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What
you know the craziest thing? The people who hate him the most are the Filipinos. They hate him a lot. People I follow anyway. The Filipinos hate this guy.
Well, you have to understand the relations they had from World War II. The Japanese invaded the Philippines. They're not going to like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it goes deeper than
they
you
weren't
think.
too nice to the Filipino people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like a lot of their martial arts, if you look at Kali, they developed that when the Japanese invaded. Like when the rattan sticks and using like.
Listen, the Japanese don't fuck around. Like they like for instance.
Probably not gonna be too happy if somebody comes onto your island and tries to rape your people. You know, so like they're not gonna like. They're probably not gonna like him that much, even though he's Asian.
Well, do you guys see the thing right now in Japan is the whole fat shaming thing? Like, you know how in this country now, big fucking slobby chicks, it's their, you know, body positive. You know, this whole freaking ridiculous thing. Like in Japan, they still straight up fat shame people. Like Western women, there was a big article in the New York Times about how Western women can't handle it there because they'll stare at them and say stuff about their weight. You know, even employers will say something because it's to them, it's gluttony. It's gluttonous.
It is.
It's like
it is. Look at them. They have the highest.
It's not a fat country. The average, you know, the average weight. The average weight of a Japanese woman is 112 pounds. The average weight of an American woman is 168. 68, a super middleweight. Dude, back in 1965, the average weight was 135. Women in the United States went from lightweights to super middleweights in half a fucking century. Yeah, dude, big bitches, man.
Anymore. Yeah, they don't work out anymore either.
Complaining about everything.
Well, not even that, but we have bigger people here, and we have big people fuck each other over time. You're gonna make bigger people, and now you made them lazier. I'm just serious. I'm dead ass serious. Like now they're lazy. They're sitting around. They're yelling at their fucking kids. They're just getting bigger. What are their kids gonna do? They're gonna inherit that same fucking trait from their fat ass fucking parents. It's just perpetual.
Dude, yeah, but you know what? Renado's fighting tonight. I'm really interested to see what he can do because you know it's good to see that he's getting the support from the Mexican people. Even though he just became a champion last year, a lot of people are starting to get behind him.
I noticed that. I have noticed the Mexican fervor. Like Mexicans are starting to be more nationalistic, and they should. They should, man, because I think boxing needs to see the contribution Mexican fighters make to the sport. Especially here in the United States. I mean,
well, I'll put you this way.
If Mexicans suddenly stop playing boxing, this sport would be fucking screwed.
Because the UK boxing is kind of trashy, man. It's kind of the domestic scene kind of sucks. There's nothing interesting for
Dude,
me.
we're not even going to have we're not even in the Olympics, bro. We're not even going to have boxing in the Olympics anymore. That's insane. When I was a little kid, boxing, you know what? They used to get like 20 million. They used to pull like 20 million views. And they would have that shit on a Saturday morning at like 7 a.m. because whatever country, Korea or wherever it was at the time, it was like a fucking huge thing. It was by far the most popular thing in the Summer Olympics was the boxing. The 84 team and 88 team were insane. I mean, the last male was Andre Ward, 2004?
Jimmy,
don't say that again.
It's not difficult to fix this problem, though. It's not difficult. I mean, they just have to fight each other.
No, they're not going to, Bucho. All of our best athletes, even in Mexico, like people like in like all North America, they're not doing boxing anymore. This is a big ass problem. We're talking about competing on a national level. We're not doing it in the amateur level at all. Where our kids,
I know up here in Massachusetts, MMA gyms are popping up everywhere still.
well, that's where we dominate because everybody fucking likes to wrestle a little bit. And I think that's the first thing. Like, you know what it is too. I think that's the first thing men do with their kids. And so a lot of people, especially women, they're like, "Well, at least he's not getting hit in the head." They're like, "Fine." You know, and that's their default. They're like, "All right, well, he can go wrestle. I don't want him to box."
I agree, but
Nobody
you don't want
wants
to
their
watch
kids.
that though. I agree it's more organic
I'm just
to wrestle.
I'm telling you
know, it
I'm just telling you the psychology of it.
No, I understand. It's true. I mean, men will usually in a fight you will start seeing they start grappling. You know what I mean? But do you want to see two men grappling? I mean, most people don't.
No.
Even UFC fans, they prefer fights when they're standing. So boxing always will have in my opinion, I think you will always have an advantage because it is there. You're standing, and unlike kickboxing and stuff like that, where like you throw a kick and you fall down and you have to restart. In boxing, you're always on your feet, unless there's a knockdown. So
you know what's kind of funny? I love this quote, and it's actually true. If you watch this on YouTube, you'll see this over and over again. When wrestlers get mad, they box. When boxers get mad, they wrestle. You see it all the time. You'll see boxers in the gym when a guy like gets too rough on him, he'll grab him and throw him on the fucking ground and start beating the shit out of him. And you see wrestlers on the mat when a guy like throws like he kind of throws like a palm strike to the face, which is pretty much like, what the fuck? Like, that wasn't really like, you're allowed to grab people in the face and try to like drag their head down, but you're not allowed like to really strike them. When you get like a hard strike to the face, you'll see some dudes like just stand up and they'll stop wrestling and they'll go to boxing. Like, oh, you want to fight? It's kind of funny to me. Like the paradigm reverses. When boxers get pissed, like I'll throw you on the fucking floor. When wrestlers get pissed, like I'm gonna punch you in the face. It's strange.
Yeah, that's what it happened. It happened at one of the tournaments. This guy got beat by a better wrestler, and then when he was going to shake his hand, he actually punched him in the face.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like they revert to the opposite side of what they do. Like when they get mad, they're just like, if I was going to hurt you, I would punch. Wrestlers are thinking, if I was going to hurt you, I'd punch you in the head. Boxers are thinking like, if you really piss me off, I'm going to throw you on the ground. What the fuck? They're thinking the opposite shit of each other.
In the MMA, what makes it rough for boxers to try that is, especially if you're a front foot heavy fighter, and you put your weight over your front foot, and they give you one of those blistering calf kicks. Like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, no way.
That's why most boxers don't do well in MMA, Jimmy, because the stance is fucked. Like, you have to keep your legs closer, and if you do that, you can't throw with real power. I did both. I did amateur boxing, and I did amateur MMA. And I really had to alter my style a lot just to throw power because I couldn't spread my legs out or somebody killed the fuck out of my leg.
Get leg kicked. Yeah.
So I never fucked with it.
I was gonna say MMA and boxing and MMA. The thing is, it's how popular is MMA outside the UFC? Other MMA organizations, how popular are they?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's moderately popular in the areas. Like, so if you're in, I'm sorry to cut somebody off, but I'm in California. I'm in Southern California. It's extremely popular around here, but the scene's really big. We have a lot of fight gyms around here. People show up and they want to watch their kids fight or they want to watch their friends fight. Like, it goes on and on. Like, they almost have the equivalent to what I had when I was a kid when I did the silver mittens, what me and Jimmy did when you did the silver mittens when you're younger for MMA now. They have a full-on system. Kids can start fighting pretty much when they're 8 years old.
Yeah. And one thing different about MMA, which is smart too, it's very gym oriented, meaning like team oriented. Like you represent like alpha male. You're on a team.
It's like a wrestling team. You're right.
Exactly. They based along the same thing. That's what happened when wrestlers started dominating MMA, and they brought that culture of you're on a team. Like you all show up for each other's fights, and for support stuff. Where boxing is the ultimate solo sport. You know what I mean? Because you never know who you might fight when you're bored.
You know what's actually funny? I was talking to Alinar about this. You guys probably know him. He kind of sounds like Recognized. But I was telling him, like, the worst gyms I've been in regards to, like, getting along with people are boxing gyms. It is the most ruthless. I have my gyms ranked. Boxing gyms are by far, like, because nobody gives a fuck about each other there. You're in there to train and get what you need. Like, boxing gym, nobody really, unless you're good friends with somebody you go in with, nobody's really going to work with you too much. Boxing gyms are the most ruthless. Second are wrestling gyms. People are training for, like, the NCAAs. They train just like boxers, but you're not getting hit. Third would be Muay Thai gyms, but usually that sport's so fucking brutal. If you went all out all the time, you get the shit kicked out of you. You couldn't train too much, so they have to dial it down. But I would say boxing gyms are that's more dog eat dog than any gym I've ever been in. I've been in a couple. I live in California now, but I used to live in Ohio, and those are two different complete cultures in regards to boxing. And
yeah, this MMA growth, it has to be attributed to the UFC, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're the big dog.
Exactly.
Think about it, Bucho, right? They bought anytime any other promotion came along that was like Pride was huge, right? Came on and one I think was Pride, and then another one was an A1 or something, but there was two big ones. UFC just bought them. Awesome. Sucked up all the talent. Just cut a check. You know what I mean? So that's what they do. Anytime a fucking rival promoter starts, because over in Japan, was it and one? I forget. Maybe, what was it? Yeah, no, Pride. Pride. Thank you, brother. Yeah, Pride Fighting Champions. Yeah, Dimitri Johnson, a bunch of champions came over from there. Yeah, to the UFC.
MMA died in Japan, from what I understand. There's Ryzen or something, but it's not as big as
Risen.
Yeah, it's not as big as Pride.
That's because it was ran by the Yakuza. You have to understand, like, the business stigma that MMA had. It's like, so their biggest think about it, the UFC was ran by the Italian mafia. That's what was going on with Pride. And Japanese do not play around the same way we do with organized crime. They give them their space, but it's a small space, and they're not going to be embarrassed on an international scene like that. So they cut them off at the fucking knees.
But also, from what I understand, Pride was popular in Japan because they actually had Japanese fighters, and
of course,
like Sakuraba, remember that? Like he was,
he was the
wrestlers.
best.
They had wrestlers, but were doing MMA. The popular wrestlers. I'm talking about pro wrestlers, right? So
he was a pro wrestler.
That's one of the reasons why it was popular there. They had somebody to identify with, some Japanese fighters. Now they don't have any, and so the Yakuza issue obviously didn't help.
They do.
Yeah. Well, on top of that, they actually had a talent pool. They had other fighters around the world.
They actually do. They actually do have fighters, but they're getting fucking choked out in Japan. A lot of fighters can't leave there. Like what you're saying with Ryzen. Before Ryzen, there was Dream. And before Dream, there was Pride. And these are like subsidiaries of each other. Pride was actually owned by Dream Entertainment. A lot of people don't know that. And then when Pride got dissolved because of the Yakuza involvement, they started Dream. There's a lot of fighters that came out of there, like Gegard Mousasi and all kinds of. There's a lot of fighters that came out of Dream. And then after that got dissolved, I think because of the association with Pride. And now what you were talking about, you have Risen, which is a complete bastardization of, because they're all Japanese fighters. So think about this logically. None of these guys can leave the country. They really can't, because they're almost like sucked into contracts right out of. It's almost like getting an NFL player when they're coming out of college. They're getting these guys like, hey, you're a good fighter. I like you. You're a good talent. They grab these people. They sign them the contracts for like 10 years, kind of like Al Heyman does. And if the contract, and say if they make a certain amount of money or they exceed the amount of money they make for them, the contract renews itself retroactively.
Wow, what the fuck?
They can't escape. They can't escape. I've heard this over and over again. Then why are there no Japanese fighters in the UFC? There's no Japanese guys that can fight? You really think that? These guys, some of these guys, some aspects of fighting they created. Why don't we see any of their top fighters? They're held under lockdown.
The English invented football, soccer, and they can't win a World Cup again. So.
Well, you got me there, Bucho.
Yeah, but I don't know. It could be that. I mean, I'm not an expert on this stuff. Could be that, but I don't know why I started talking about that. We're talking about boxing and UFC how.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack it. I didn't mean to hijack it. I guess my point was is that why don't you see these guys in the mix? I'm saying they're held under contract.
That's very interesting. But I think Naoya talked about it. He said that, with me here, I can make Japanese boxing more popular. I didn't know that boxing in Japan wasn't that popular.
Not as much. Well, it is. It's getting more popular, but I think more of the martial arts is more popular in Japan. Like judo is their national sport. Karate is probably.
I think sumo is the most popular one.
No,
if you want to consider that,
no, judo's the most popular because they win it every fucking year, and they created it. I guarantee you. You can get scholarships for judo in Japan, like as if you're getting like a football scholarship in America. Judo's a major thing. Sumo is like I think it's a big deal to an extent, but it's not educational. It's not tied to education, if that makes any sense.
Well, what's the sport of the samurai one? What's that thing called?
Karate?
No, the samurai one. The one where they put. It's kind of like the Japanese version of fencing.
Kendo.
Yeah, that's another popular one.
Kendo. Oh yeah.
Well, that all falls under jiu-jitsu by classification because it's everything from the ground, from the feet to the ground, from the sword to the floor.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the sport, not where it derived on. I totally get you, but I'm just trying to remember the name of because that's another really popular combat sport in Japan.
Well, this is what I noticed when a country has a boxer that's a top level world champion, he becomes the most popular athlete in that country.
Well, in a way, it's the fourth. But if he keeps winning, he'll definitely. But he probably never overshine. Shote that Ohio that baseball player. He'll probably never. He could probably be the second. But that baseball player, he's huge. He's a tall guy for a Japanese person.
He was not even the most popular boxer they had. They had that kid there a while back, man. He was like a rock star over there because he was handsome and he was fucking around with ladies. Where Inouye's married, has a kid, and he doesn't really go out. This other kid was. It was two boxers. I can't remember their names now, but they were fucking huge.
Yeah, but that was back in the 90s. There's two of them. I forgot their names, but these two guys made boxing very popular. I forgot their names though. They called it the boxing boom when those two guys were fighting. But yeah, anyway,
they like striking sports in general. I'll put it to you that way. Honestly, I'm not really surprised. Like they love karate, like ISKA. If you guys are familiar, that's like the International Karate Championships and shit like that. They love anything to do with striking. A lot of guys that come from ISKA go into, well, they don't have it anymore, but they used to go into K1, and now what is currently known as Glory.
Yeah, Glory.
Right. So they put a lot of kickboxing in. They like that shit. I'm not surprised Japan likes boxing at all. They love fucking striking.
But there's something about becoming a boxing champion, though, that even UFC fighters are MMA fighters are attracted to.
Yeah, of course.
It's because boxing's the hardest thing boxing's the hardest thing to do out of all. Outside of maybe wrestling, I think wrestling and boxing are comparable, but I think actually boxing's harder because you have to make split decisions at a faster time frame. Wrestling, guys are attached to you. That's more organic. You can feel them like as they move around. You don't have. Yeah, boxing's fucking speed chess. When people tell you that it's not, they've never boxed before. You're making split decisions at a moment's notice. If you make the wrong one, you're on the fucking floor.
I'll give you an example. Okay, remember in Pride there was this tall Dutch fighter, Sammy Shield? I don't know.
Yeah, he's a kickboxer.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, well, no, he became he was in Pride Fighting Championship, then got into K1 and became very popular because he could compete with K1 fighters, which is like almost like kickboxing, the thing. But like he was an MMA fighter to begin with, right?
I thought he was a kickboxer to begin
I don't know,
with.
because he had a fight with Mark Hust. What was his name again? Mark, the guy from K1.
Yeah, I know you got Hust. Or Ernesto Hust.
Yeah, and then he was a special Pride event or whatever, and he kind of was successful in that fight, and so then he transitioned to K1 and was pretty successful. So, but could he have done the same thing and go to boxing and be like, no, like boxing?
No,
I've never seen somebody from another fighting discipline going to boxing and become successful.
No, it's impossible because boxing's too.
Chris Algieri was a kickboxer, I believe, but he
I guess they did some kickboxing.
Okay, that's an excellent counter argument, and he's right. Chris Algieri won the Chuck Norris. I forget what that fucking tournament was. He was fucking putting everybody to sleep. But you know what's actually kind of funny? Chris Algieri was a knockout artist in kickboxing, and when he goes to boxing, he's a pillow puncher. So think about that.
Right, that's true. In the chat, Omar is asking, could a boxer go to Glory and be successful? Probably not.
No, because their stance will be too wide. They're going to get their leg destroyed. Nobody's going to, a kickboxer's not going to fuck up a boxer, and a boxer's not going to fuck up a kickboxer in their respective
there is a few exceptions. There is a few exceptions to the rules. Like
of course, I know. Ray Mercer knocked out.
We were talking about the other day. What's his name? Joe Joyce. I was like, yo, I think that dude had a kung fu stance, like a karate stance, and then I looked him up. He actually did karate before he did boxing. And then me and Quack the other day we're talking about Dylan White, how he has more of like a
well, he came from
stance.
kickboxing.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
You
but
did.
I can tell by just the stance.
We talked about that.
Well, yeah, well, I'm talking about before, I researched it and figured it out, but you just have a
boxer. But Dylan White is by this definition's era, he is an elite amongst the elite of the heavyweights.
That's why this era sucks. Yeah. Think about that. Can you imagine that? Like, doesn't that make you just want to fucking put a gun in your mouth when you think about Dylan White being elite? You're like, how? How in the fuck is this guy elite? This guy is basic as fuck. There's guys I could think of even from the previous era. I think Corey Sanders would beat the fuck out of Dillian White.
Corey Sanders was underrated.
Can I just say, fuck you guys talk about Chris? That kid Chris Algieri. He's kind of a douche. Kind of so full of himself.
You don't like him, then?
No, not a fan. Not a fan of his personality at all.
That motherfucker should have went to MMA. He won fucking state in wrestling, and he won in the professional kickboxing, and then he became a pro fucking boxer. What the fuck is that guy doing?
He could have made more money.
He probably made more money in boxing, though. He probably made more money in boxing.
He should cash it out now, though, Bucho. Right? He has all those skills still. They're sitting in the cabinet. He should be. If I was him, I'd be like, "Fuck you." I would challenge somebody, like one of these YouTube idiots that likes to come out and like that wants to be up a fucking ex-pro boxer in an MMA match. That'd be the worst guy for something like that. Like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, but where you gonna get, the other thing is, where would you get the money? Imagine calling people, promoters, "Hey, I'm Chris Algieri." Who? Fuck you,
Jimmy, you win.
Yeah,
you win, Jimmy. You win. You win.
I just find him insufferable. He just thinks he's the shit about nutrition, about this and that.
About
he's
nutrition, but
just arrogant.
Like a master's degree, of course he's going to. He's going to talk down to everybody. That's how it goes.
I personally don't.
Yeah, but it's funny when he showed up at his college, and after he had won the fuck off, cat. So he showed up, and he was like they were announcing him, and they spit and scanned the fucking bleachers, like 17 people there.
He
didn't need a microwave. I mean, didn't need a microphone. Could have been in a room talking to everybody. Just start fucking. There wasn't anybody there to talk over. Oh, it was sad, but fuck him. He was a douche.
They probably had no idea who he was.
I was gonna ask about Jake Paul and all these guys, these celebrity boxers.
The Gillian Danis thing.
Like, is that gonna end soon
Dude.
at some point, or do you guys think this still has some fuel?
I don't know, but I'll tell you
give it
this.
another
This
2
would be
years.
how. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Probably in 2 or 3 years, it's probably gonna die out.
2-3 years, shit.
I think it's going to take longer because some of these guys are going to start training and they might actually put up good fights against each other. But I don't think it's going to be anything for us to worry about because we watch real fighting.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, Sursayer says, thank you for the super chat. He says, yeah, that the corny jalapeno with a sombrero isn't the biggest slap and insult to us, La Raza who wanted something genuine. Thanks, guys, Canadian Mexicans on a different wave. I don't know. He doesn't like the jalapeno I posted there with a sombrero.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, Sursayer, man. I'll next time I'll add something else, man.
Don't make him mad.
I don't want to piss off Sursayer. This guy's insane. But
he's a good dude.
I know. I was gonna about the. I mean, are they helping boxing? Do you guys think? Like, are they bringing in new fans?
No. I think they're making a fucking whack ass spectacle of it. None of these people that watch the fights that Jake Paul watch boxing. I don't think there's been any kind of crossover whatsoever. I think it's stupid. The only thing,
you gotta give respect to the former unified champion, man. He went for undisputed.
I don't see it. I really don't. And you're a fucking troll, Muck. This is a muck, isn't it?
He had 3 belts.
Son of a bitch.
Yo, if people give credibility to Tank Davis's belts, then I can give credibility to Jake Paul's belts.
What belts?
What belts? Yeah, what are you talking about?
He had he had one of the WBC belts, and then he had the MVP belt.
The taco title? That one?
The MVP belt.
He had a Sears and Roebuck.
It was the white one that said it stood for what did it stand for? Oh, most valuable boxer, the MVP belt. Yeah, that, and then he had some other belts.
That's all right. That's
well. How about
real
this?
Belts.
How much money do people make? Just to make a point, how much people make outside it? How much money are people making outside of him in boxing since he's been here? I don't think boxing's changed at all. I think he's made just a fucking circus out of shit. And some of the people that have been on his undercard have made money. I understand that, but that's only for the selective few, right?
Well, so has the face of boxing, aka Gervonta Davis.
What?
The face of boxing? What'd you say?
Yeah, the face of boxing, aka Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's how his fans. That's how his fans on Twitter always describe him, as the face of boxing.
Well, we know he's Jimmy's favorite.
Who's the face of boxing? They're obsessed with like trying to find the guy that's African American.
Because they hate, exactly. They hit the nail on the head. They hate the fact that Canelo is the face of boxing. Canelo says jump, people say how high. End of story. Period.
You know, that's actually kind of true.
You know what I mean?
Think about this logically. He's dragging 2 brothers up from a weight class that he's not even in. Do what I say, bitch. Come up here. And you're like, okay, yeah, we need it.
Yeah,
the one brother's getting fucking divorced. I can't wait for that shit. If he's smart, he finalized that shit before this fight goes through. So he can have a fucking life afterwards. We know how women do that shit. You roll around like fucking Shane Mosley and his fucking ex-wife has all your ex-championship belts. Can you imagine that? Like, how could you get that in divorce terms? We're like, yeah, I wanted his belts. You're like, what? You're gonna take the man's
You see at the
belt?
Crawford Spence fight, every time fucking Crawford put Spence down, he ran to the fucking, because the neutral corner was right where Jamal was sitting, and he was fucking yelling at him, saying, "I do that worse to you." Yeah, he really wants Maul. If there was a fight that he could have next, I believe that's the one he wants, Jamal.
Yeah,
I think Jamel's the harder fight, though, Jimmy. In my opinion, I really do.
I think he's skilled. He can move better than Spence.
I think Jamal's a sucker for Crawford, especially if you watch the Korobov fight. Look at how he sticks that straight right hand in. Like Jamal will sit there and like look at it. He just sitting there and is like, "Oh, what's that?" And then he gets like fucking popped. With any kind of real power behind that, you're gonna see that motherfucker sleeping on the canvas. That guy has no head movement, and on top of that, he hates southpaws.
I mean, Castino was touching him up. Stano.
No, that's Jermel. That's Jermel, though. I'm talking about Jamal.
Oh,
Well, that's what I was talking about. That's who Crawford was running his mouth at.
Yeah.
At the Spence fight.
Maul is a pretty much retired fighter, in my opinion.
He should be.
Yeah,
value.
WBC.
No value.
For some reason, WBC.
But who wants to fight Jermal? What's Jermal? He doesn't have anything. He has a WBC belt and nothing else.
Jamal's
that
best win is
Kazakhstani-
Derevyanchenko, and he arguably lost.
The Kazakhstani guy wants to fight Jamal very bad. The Kazakh style. Johnny Beck.
I mean, Jermal's looking for big paydays, I would assume, or legacy fights, and fighting this guy.
Isn't that a play on words, though? How can you give a guy a legacy fight when he has no legacy?
Well, that's the thing.
It's just it's asinine. I think I'm actually kind of mad at Canelo giving him that fight. I know I think Canelo's like kind of sadistic when he's like, "Well, I'm just gonna like ruin your whole family." Where like your kids like grow up knowing that like this one man like knocked out both your dads, you know, and like all your whole lineage just like grows up like, oh yeah, that's it, kind of fucked me over. He's gonna fight both of them. He's gonna fight
how's
both
the
of
kid
them,
gonna
right?
have two dads, bro? I'm confused.
Maybe he's only fighting Mal. He's not fighting Maul.
No, he's fight. Well, he's
I think he's gonna fight Maul.
both
Maul's gonna fight Benavidez Jr. and he's gonna tune up.
I thought Andrade was fighting Benavidez.
No, the older one, you know, the Jose Jr. Benavidez. You know, Jose Sr. is his dad. You know, his older brother is Jose's Jr. So he's gonna fight Jose Jr. and then he's gonna fight Canelo.
Well, then this Mel is better than Maul. If Canelo beats Mel, like stops him, everybody knows Mel's better than Maul. It'd be a very hard fight to sell, and that's the bottom line. They're looking to make money off it, the pay-per-view, and I just don't see that a second fight against another Charlo if he beats the first one, right? Like everybody's predicting.
Yeah, he better destroy him then.
Mars says Maul needs to fight Plant. How do you guys think that goes? I think Plant fucks him up. Or not fucks him up. I shouldn't say it like that because Plant doesn't really fuck anything. But I think Plant wins that. Yeah, I agree. I think Plant wins.
He probably wins. Yeah, probably the biggest win in his career. Yeah, he'll win over Jamal.
Good call, Mars.
So you guys saw that Joey Gonzalez missed the weight the first time. You guys think he might be going to the super featherweight?
I guess so. I mean, how much did he miss weight? How much was it?
I heard that he missed weight the first time. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes, you know, that could be a sign. You know, Virgil was missing weight way back. I remember when he was missing weight. I'm like, this could be a
sign. Yeah, an early sign that he needs to move up.
Virgil waited horribly. He waited until he got bad.
Yeah, I hate that shit. Like, and these promoters and managers, they should know this. Like, if a fighter's struggling, let him move up in weight. Oh no, because you know there's bigger fights in this weight division. So what? You're killing the fucking fighter.
He was literally killing himself. Like, people say killing himself. It hurt. The dude was literally killing himself. His muscles were getting eaten up. That's crazy. When I read about that stuff.
In the chat, Super Sardonic says Jose went up to 154 to fight Danny Garcia.
And then he moved up to 160, and he just had a fight.
And he also said that Maul's undefeated, which is a lie. Like, we know the real winner against Matt Karabov. He did not win that fight. Yeah, Matt Karabov won that fight and got robbed. And Maul.
Man, fucking what was it? The Mexican that looked like a retard there?
Both brothers lost.
he didn't beat Jamal, but he was putting on a beating. What's his name? Montiel.
He made him bleed. He was bleeding in the press conference.
Yeah,
They had to wipe the
what
blood
should
off
tell
his
you? I mean,
face.
Montiel shouldn't have done that. Montiel shouldn't have done. He should have been out of there, man. He was supposed to get knocked out.
Hey, what about the shit Danny Garcia said to about Crawford? Why do I have to fight him? I'm rich. I own restaurants.
He said he doesn't need. He said he doesn't need to fight him.
Who?
Danny Garcia.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
He ducked him at 140. Like, are we really
Yep.
surprised here?
Yeah, and he fucking, because Crawford was like, we got to unvisit business because, Danny wouldn't try to, they lied about it. And he even admitted he lied. He'd say, oh, yeah, they didn't make me an offer. And Bob did send him an offer. Then another time he said that he sent Crawford an offer and it was a lie. He never did. And he admitted to that, too. So he's trying to, he fucking glory snatched off his name a few times and other shit was said. So Crawford suggested that maybe they should why does he fight Danny? And Danny's like, I don't have to fight you. I'm a millionaire. Like, why fight a good fighter when we can fight a Selka? Remember his father said that back in 2017?
I remember that shit.
I can't imagine boxers in the past talking like that.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Dude, Marvin Hagler was 32-2-1, right? 32, so he had 34 fucking professional fights. His highest pay at that point was $3,500. Wrap your fucking domes around that shit.
What year was that, Jimmy?
Late 70s. But 34 professional
right,
fights. You still didn't even hit 10 grand
So
yet.
so he was getting hit around like fucking 35 to 40K by our standards, right?
But up until about his 30th professional fight, it was contemplating like he really had a serious talk because he was making good money. He was a hard worker. He learned construction. Became a foreman. Like, was just one of those dudes, the first one on the job, last one to leave, meticulous about everything. He learned how to use pavers. Like, he was just really good with all that shit. So he honestly, he was thinking about leaving and going to work for the city of Brockton. He's like, I can make I can make almost what I'm getting now and not get my brain scrambled. And I don't have to do what the mob says. But they said just hang in there a little bit longer, and it finally happened for him. They couldn't avoid him any longer.
Yeah, but so how long you guys think realistically? How long has Canelo got left in his career? I think he's got maybe 2-3 years.
It'll depend on how he looks.
How old is he? He's 32.
And Jimmy, imagine Hagler didn't get his first championship fight till his 50th fight.
Yep.
Imagine that.
And it was only because the Massachusetts State Department stepped in.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah, but that was a special case or something. Right?
Yeah, exactly. He's a rare and delicate flower.
They just didn't like him for some reason, for whatever reason.
Well, nobody wanted to match their fighters up, and then even like Bob Arum fucked him over, promised him a championship belt, and then we did what he was told, and all of a sudden Bob, because he wasn't representing the other guy, and then put the other guy that Hagler beat onto the championship. So, but it was after that, of course, once he started making big money, it was all over him. Jason Green.
With Bernard Hopkins also, because he became a star at 36 when he beat Trinidad, which he wasn't supposed to.
His was a lot because he was incarcerated.
That was at 160.
Like 7 years.
Trinidad was never a 160 fighter. That's stupid. I don't mean it like that, Big Joe. I don't mean it like that. But I mean, Trinidad had no business.
I mean, if you look at Hopkins' two big wins at middleweight, it was De La Hoya and Trinidad, and those two guys weren't middleweights. But then again, some people say about Hagler, right? Like, he beat Duran, and he beats Hearns, and these guys weren't.
That's
really
the best one. That's
the
best one. The Hearns fight was a good win because it was so fucking ruthless, and he went out and they just they squared up. I think I would say, in my opinion, just because I was a fucking child when that shit happened, I didn't really get to witness it and recollect it.
Antifermo was a beast. His first championship fight was Antifermo. It was a draw.
It was a robbery.
And
that was his most brutal fight,
He fought him again, like a couple of months later. He would do that though. He would fight every month, I remember going to see his fights, and he would say after the fight on the microphone, "I'll be fighting next week, next month, a month from this Saturday in Worcester. I hope to see everybody out there." Like a month later, he was in another fight. Literally a month later.
And the two
All the
losses
time.
that he had,
Well, one loss was legit, yeah. And he revenged him. Oh, yeah, the guy he lost, it was kind of a robbery. That guy he legitimately beat. He was an Olympian, really good, but he knocked him out twice. And then the other guy who he got robbed against, he knocked him out too.
Yeah,
no, he fought a lot of good guys, man. A lot of top 5 fucking dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
One guy was ranked number 1 by the WBC. He signed the fight. The fight was supposed to happen in 2 weeks, and the dude disappeared, moved to the California fucking mountains, and called his trainer and said, "I'm not fighting him."
Yeah,
Never fought again. Retired.
Imagine Hagler was champion for 7 straight years.
Yeah, that's what used to happen back then. You know, they used to have real, true champions that could defend their title for a long time. Like Monzon, even though he was a fucking crazy dude, he defended his title like 14 times.
He was fantastic.
Hey, and then when he fought Mugabe was 26-0 with 26 knockouts. If you watch the fight,
was a beast.
Yeah, Mugabe.
He was good.
Jimmy, didn't Mugabe look like a cruiserweight in there?
He was huge, fucking humongous, and he cracked. People said it was crazy.
I don't think
punched by that dude.
And they used to weigh in same day.
Yeah, same day weigh-ins. Yep, that was back in the same day weigh-ins.
15 rounds.
I don't think he was dialed in for that fight, in my opinion. The same way. I really don't.
It was just because he hurt him every time. Like, he used to tell us, like, yeah, he said that dude hurt me. Almost everything he caught me clean with, like, shook me. Like, bring the flash white, but he never went off his feet.
Yeah, Mugabe looked like a cruiserweight in there. He was fucking huge.
Hagler's the kind of guy that like gets caught on the ropes and then that you beat to death. Like that guy don't go down. Like that's just what it is, you know. And that's why they stop guys when they get caught up on the ropes like that. Because some guys have a good chin, they won't go down for anything.
Like that Hearns fight, man. That was such a great fight. It only lasted a few rounds, but Hearns came out. Of course, said he was going to box him at distance, use his length. Got suckered right into a firefight because that was just his way.
It was not even that. I think a couple of shots hurt Hearns, and where you know how you want to get back, Jimmy. When a guy I think a couple of those shots when he hit him under the ribs. When he was like kind of jabbing him and trying to keep distance, I think when he got hit like that, he's like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Fuck this!" Like,
well, that was Hagler's style. He didn't take you out with one shot. He made everybody uncomfortable. That was his thing.
He broke you.
He pushed. Yeah, he pushed the pace. He pushed the pace. Pushed the pace. Pushed the pace. Just was on you. And just hit you hard enough that everything hurts, but it never stops coming. And I think most guys, I'm not comfortable if I'm not fighting at the pace I want. I don't like it. Nobody does.
I think that's why that fight got so fucking crazy though. Is that when Hearns started to beat him to the punch, Hagler started to come underneath with kind of digging shots underneath the rib cage. I think that, and you see Hearns really start opening up. It's like, oh, okay, you want to fight. You know, he throws the game plan out the door, and they go to war. And a lot of times,
it's so hot in those arenas. Then everybody's smoking cigarettes and shit.
I think Hearns said he broke his hand in the first or second round.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's kind of crazy about it too is that the fight got so goddamn close. Sorry for the blasphemy, but the fight got so close that that Hearns couldn't even loop his shots properly. Hagler was starting to smother him, and I think that's what he didn't realize by the third round. He's he was up in his chest, and he was eating the same kind of shots, so he had no leverage on anything anymore.
What Hagler did say, he goes, "I respect Tommy more than any other fighter because at least Tommy came at him, and Yeah, he really respected Tommy Hearns.
Yeah, you're right. That whole class of guys got along very well. Even at the end, Sugar
Yeah.
Ray, Marvin,
Yeah.
Tommy.
Jimmy, who do you think won that fight? Sugar Ray or
Hagler.
Hagler, yeah.
Hagler won, bro.
Hagler.
Yeah.
I know you didn't ask me,
Okay.
Joe, but Hagler
Hagler
won that. He should have he should have switched southpaw after the fucking second round. It's fucking so stupid. I don't know.
Jimmy, you know what my father told me? He goes, Hagler got caught up trying to be the better boxer the first 4 rounds. He wanted to prove to Leonard that he didn't have to beat him southpaw. So he came out.
You know Leonard lied about shit, right? You know that he had like 4 warm-up fights that nobody knew about. He did it off camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3
Jimmy,
fights and shit, yeah.
But Jimmy, you think that was a true assessment?
What's that?
Do you think that's a true assessment? What my dad said. He goes, Hagler came out and he wanted to prove to Leonard that he didn't want to he wanted to outbox him.
Hang on a second. We have some fucking. Sorry, Joe. We have some fucking interference. Somebody mute that.
Yeah, so he came out the first 4 rounds fighting orthodox to prove to Leonard that he didn't have to beat him southpaw. He got caught up in the boxing game. You know how boxers are, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt he'd want to beat him that way. He really didn't like Ray at that point, too. Because Ray pulled out of a bunch of fights earlier. That's why he was so pissed and disheartened by that. And they wouldn't run it back right away, so that's why he just took off to Italy after that fight and shit. But you know what's fucked up? Mickey Ward fought on that card. Sugar Ray Leonard. That was his first professional fight.
Yeah.
He opened that card up. Yeah.
It's a great fight. Good for him.
He said he fucked up. He should have just came out southpaw the first 4 rounds. But he said he got caught up in that. I'm a better boxer than you, Ray. So I'm going to come out.
Yeah, he set the tempo. He was the ring general in there. He landed the cleaner, fucking more. I thought the more showy punches.
Why would you fight?
Hated him.
Hey, from a tactical standpoint, why would you fight Ray Leonard from Orthodox? You're giving him his jab.
Because he just wanted to prove that he was the better boxer. Because everyone was saying that Sugar Ray was the better boxer. And he probably was, but not by much. But I guess Hagler wanted to prove that he was the better boxer, that he didn't have to come out southpaw to beat Sugar Ray. And I think that's where he kind of fucked up. He basically gave the first 4 rounds to Sugar Ray by doing that.
Since we're talking about great boxers, what about Deontay Wilder with the 11 title defenses?
Will you shut up?
Did you see that money? Did you see the money disappeared from all of a sudden that money dried up overseas?
You know, it's kind of funny.
Chat?
Sorry?
Yeah, the Middle Eastern money dried up. All of a sudden that money was pulled off the table for the Joshua fight.
Why? You know what's kind of funny about that kind of shit, Jimmy? That money's only good until they say it is. And that's what I love about people say, like, oh, well, I'll just go out to the Middle East. It's like, what if they don't want to do it? Then what? You have no contract.
Wilder making $30 million.
Throw that fight for you.
Well, they got $20-30 million for his fights. I mean, going all the way back since the guy who he said he wanted to murder him in front of his children. That dude in the hotel lobby.
Yeah, that's classic.
Which made crying about the fucking boxers getting hurt in the game all the more disingenuous. But so he goes out there, right? And these fucking arrows, man, they got fucking fuck you money. They're gonna throw me. We'll start at $20 million. They're probably like, guy, you didn't even hit 100,000 fucking pay-per-views against Hellenius. This whole fight is off Joshua. That's just the fucking cold hard facts of it, dude. You didn't even sell it in your own hometown. Your TV rating numbers when you fought on Showtime were atrocious. Yeah, he pushed the race. He pushed divisive racial issues, which is even fucked up because the dude just came out in a fucking interview recently. I just saw. And he said, "No, growing up in Alabama, man, I never experienced racism, not once." And I said that. I said, "I guarantee you, he never did. He was the star fucking basketball player at his high school and shit, big man on campus. Everybody kissed his ass. Like he's like, I never experienced racism in my life, not once." So, you know what I mean? Like, so what, you get with a girl? Is that what happened? You became all militant and saw the stupid shit you're saying? That didn't help sell him. Nobody wants that divisive shit. He tied his boat to the LDBC. And then, you know what? Now you're fucking tied to that narrative. And that's the reason why you don't sell. I mean, he don't sell. So it was all conducive to Joshua. He's the one the Arabs are going to spend the money on, and they know they can get, that's a guaranteed, right? And he's going to sell a lot of pay-per-views in England. Wilder does not have that name. He does not bring in the numbers. Never has. And I know for some reason that infuriates his fans. That's the facts.
He couldn't even sell
I mean?
out 4,000 tickets at the Barclays. That's a fact. They had to give out those tickets for free.
Imagine being the F side and you're trying to make A side demands. Has there been a worse situation than that?
Yeah, and then Ruiz is demanding at least 10 million. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, I mean, at least he beat him. So I could understand. To an extent.
Yeah, Ruiz
Wilder,
I'm confused about him.
Yeah, but Wilder, he was the F side. Like he could barely sell out his own backyard.
Dude, he didn't sell out. He fought in Alabama.
No, I meant like
they don't have
his actual backyard. I meant like his actual backyard. Like he can barely do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, he could because he fought in a 14,000 seat arena. I think he did 8,000 tickets. Dude, you're the heavyweight champion of the world, and you know what that is? That's because your resume, your career was carefully crafted. You avoided anybody good. Your average going into your first championship fight against Stavern, his average opponent world ranking was over 200. That was his average.
And hang on for a second.
That's
Did you just say?
That's insane.
Hang on for a second. Did you just say world ranking and Stavern in the same sentence, Jimmy?
Yeah. Well, he was the champion at the time when Wilder fought him. But I was saying up to that point when he fought Stavern. Like you go back and look at his resume, his last, say, 15 fights prior to winning the title, the guys were ranked 160, 88, 335, unranked. So he was fighting hand-picked, absolute no-hopers. So, and avoided anybody could punch. Look at the circus look what they did to avoid fighting Klitschko, what Wilder did. He was literally the world champion, and Finkel called him a baby. Literally the word he used. He said, well, he's a baby in the sport. Like, what do you mean a baby in the sport? Because he was fighting, so he was step aside. Stavern was about to fight Klitschko for the first unification of the four-belt era. And but Stavern had a mandatory, which was Wilder. So of course they offered Wilder step aside money so they could make. So Wilder's actually destroyed 2 unification fights, Fury fucking Joshua and Stavern Klitschko. But he actually asked for $8 million. Here's the kicker. That's what he wanted for step aside, not a penny less. He said, right? And because here's the kicker. Stavern was only making 1.7 million, so he wanted 4 times what fucking the guy Stavern was going to get fight Klitschko. But here's the thing. They both said, win or lose, whoever wins, we will sign a contract. We'll pay you step aside. Plus, you have first cracks at winner. Guaranteed. We'll put it in writing. And he knew that would be Klitschko, right? And he didn't want to fight Klitschko. Shelly Finkel even said. So, in fact, after he, wouldn't do it, would take the step aside. He beats Stavern. Probably his best performance.
Sparring partner, Jimmy. Remember that?
He went the distance, but here's the thing. Right after, Klitschko was like, okay, let's do it. Let's unify this shit. And that's when Finkel made the, okay, hold on. We're no rush. He's just a baby in this sport after all. That's exactly what he said when he was champion. And then he avoided him. And then Joshua ended up, fighting Klitschko at 41 years old. But because of Klitschko's punching power and his height, he would have fucking folded Wilder within 5. No doubt.
He did it already. Klitschko buzzed him and knocked him out in sparring. It's actually documented. He fucked him up.
He was down 7 times in the Olympic trials. 7 times he was taken off his feet with punches. That dude has always been chinny. Why do you think they went after
those
fucking
legs?
Fury? That
What
was
do
a
you
cherry
think?
pick. Cherry pick gone wrong. I mean, they picked a guy they thought was coming 300 pounds, cokehead, off the couch. Wilder's own admission. I took less money to fight you than I could have made fighting Joshua. You owe me. Remember with the whole talk in that fucking rematch? But it was a cherry pick. And because he was going into the first fight. Oh no, the second fight, because that's when Fury changed trainers and said, I'm knocking him out in 5 rounds, blah, blah, blah. He started carrying that narrative. And Wilder was laughing, tweeting out, calling him pillow hands. His fans were making all kinds of fucking memes of Fury with pillows in his hands and shit. And
what the fuck
so that's why they thought he was a pillow fucking handed dude. And he even said it to him in his face during the press conference. And he still got knocked out by that dude. Who didn't even know it was a heavy puncher. So imagine what Klitschko would have done to him with that straight right hand hidden behind a jab. He would have fucking decapitated him. He would have knocked him out in the first 5. Finkel knew that. Again, this is another thing that's not an opinion, and it infuriates his fans. Wilder has the worst resume in the 2-year history of the WBC of any champion with held a belt for 2 years or more. 2 years or longer, his resume was atrocious. His first 7 fucking defenses weren't even top 10 ranked guys.
I think Floyd at 154 might give him a run for the money. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not one guy. His first one was Victor Ortiz. That was or the old fucking Cuban dude. That was the first ranked dude he ever fought on his 9th defense or his 8th defense.
I wanted to add something to what Jimmy was saying on the worst resume. It's remarkable to me how many people that I consider really good boxing fans because of the sport, and even trainers, people that are in the sport, that consider Wilder something else, like a specimen. And I understand the knockout power, but when you look at the resume, and that's just one of those things that nobody takes into consideration when you're talking to some casual. I can expect that from them.
It's atrocious. Yeah, I agree.
It's alarming to me the number of people that know the sport so well and still think that this guy's some special talent.
Well, he's special in regard. You actually said something earlier that made a little bit of sense. Physicality-wise, he is in the upper echelon. But talent-wise, oh my God. It took him 37 fights to follow up a fucking straight cross with a fucking left hook. Think about that logically. He's an idiot.
Take a look at the opposition. Take a look at all the opposition he's had. There's nobody really elite except for maybe Tyson Fury, and that's about it. No one's been really that. Maybe Sterling, maybe. No one's been at that elite level. Who was knocking out guys at that elite level? And you can't say he was the hardest punching guy in the history of boxing. I think somebody brought this up earlier this week. And we were talking about Ernie Shavers. We were talking about Big George Foreman. Would you guys put him up there with those 2 guys, considering the
Big George is going to fuck him up? I think Big George Foreman fucks him up. He's not going to deal with guys that are going to wear those kind of shots. That's terrible.
Think about this. Think about a fight between Deontay Wilder and Lennox Lewis.
No, actually, I was about to tell. Can I just say something real quick? You know what? You kind of gave me a piece of where I was gonna put this into. Why hasn't Deontay Wilder ever thrown an uppercut? What the fuck is going on? That's what saved Lennox Lewis in his previous fights. When you have a big guy that can, well, I guess he doesn't have a jab, but he has a right hand. Why don't you throw the fucking right hand and lean back and then step into the uppercut? He has no uppercut. It took him 37 fights to throw the left hook, and he finally landed it, and he barely landed it on Fury. I hate how overblown this fucking guy is. He doesn't know. He really doesn't know how to fight. He doesn't give a shit about. He really doesn't give a shit about boxing, or he will learn something by now. Nobody's this stupid.
Yeah, the lack of skills really gets to me, and I think where people place him sometimes really just annoys me because you can see right through it, and it's just a level of frustration when you think of how many fighters have come before that also hit hard but also have talent, like Ray Mercer
era, dude.
or somebody. Okay, let's say a fantasy fight. Let's put a fantasy fight. Ray Mercer or what was his name? Tommy, guy that was HIV positive.
Morrison.
Or Morrison, yeah. I mean, just any of those dudes with Wilder.
I think fucking Corey Sanders knocks Wilder out. I think David Tua knocks Corey Sanders out. I think Tommy Morrison knocks Wilder out. Like, he doesn't know how to fucking fight. He really doesn't. I shouldn't say that. He knows how to fight, but he doesn't know how to box. He has nothing to fall back on that makes him elite. And he's just been granted. This is the weakest area of heavyweight boxing ever. I don't know if anybody realizes this properly. This is the weakest.
I think what's happening right now I think what's happening right now, especially with the internet, we're finding out how much politics is really swaying the name of the game. How much politics has interfered with how the sport is being conducted right now, and they're treating everybody like fragile little princesses. And it's annoying the fuck out of me. It's annoying the fuck out of a lot of fans.
Well, it should, because you remember watching boxing when you were a kid. You're like, fucking, these guys knew how to fight, especially at the heavyweight standard. I remember watching guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, when I started watching fighting, it was a great era in fighting. It was a great era in boxing. And I wondered how it was going to be when guys like Miguel Cotto and Mayweather and Pacquiao started retiring.
Hang on for a second.
Back then you had more stars.
I know, but hang on for a second. Just let's keep it apples to apples. Let's just talk about heavyweight.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, let's not go down the path, because I thought the other path of the era was great. Like, when I was a kid, I thought Oscar De La Hoya was great. I thought Trinidad was great. Like, they were great. Got the fights we want. I know. I say that with conviction. Like, they were great fighters. The heavyweight fighters back then, like, the heavyweight class was starting to really struggle back then. Like, you had a whole lot of, like, guys that were, like, on the cusp of being semi-good, but they didn't really have all the tools to be great. Other than outside of the Klitschko's, but you look at guys like David Tua. I know I said this like fucking 4 times already, but guys like Corey Saunders, who were good in spurts, like, that were dangerous to people, like, especially you stood in front of them. You don't a lot of heavyweights don't move their feet, so you stand in front of a southpaw like that, you get stuck.
Listen, when the Klitschko's were fighting, they were fighting guys, and some of the guys in the game are still around or leaving the game. Like a lot of the guys that Anthony Joshua fought early on. Those are the guys that stuck around and were during the Klitschko era, and they were good guys. They were good fighters. They were tough fighters. They were elite opposition. And sure, they were getting older, but Joshua still fought a lot of those guys. Most of those guys, actually.
He did. I'm not dogging him for that.
Yeah, I know that.
Did what he had.
Nobody's dogging. I don't dog Joshua, actually. I really don't. I really don't, because he did fight a lot of those guys from that era. But you look at the era now, what we have right now, and it's slim pickings. It's and the politics that's going on with the boxing game right now. Mauricio Suleiman playing fast and loose with the rules and with the moral with the political posturing, with saying that the 2 Russians can't fight for undisputed in the light heavyweight division because they're both Russian and he doesn't want them to fight. Yet Tyson Fury can do whatever the fuck he wants with the WBC, and Charlo could fucking retire with the belt in his fucking lap. It's laughable. It's fucking laughable, and it's a fuking joke. We all see right through it. We all see what the politics is doing to the fucking sport. It's just making diluting the whole sport. Like I sometimes wish I wish a guy would come in and go like one belt, one champion, and that's it.
Yeah, but I don't know how old you are, but you should have wished for that like fucking 40 to 50 years ago. Like you're well beyond that at this point.
Well, I know we're beyond that, but it just makes me sick sometimes.
I don't think if you guys really realize it, I think we're about on the cusp of having a fifth belt. I really think that's about to happen. I think the Eastern Europeans I think the IBO is about to be legitimized.
I hope not. There's too many belts already. But guys, I'm gonna have to bounce. The fights are gonna start. I think in an hour, 40 minutes. So, yeah. Thanks for joining the show. We'll see you next time. All right.
All right.
See ya.
All right, guys, I think you can hear me now. I think it's time to end the show. Somebody says no. I just came back on. Yeah, guys, we gotta bounce. We have some fights, but we will have another show soon. Hopefully on, I guess, Sunday. Sunday we can have a show. As we approach the Canelo versus Charlo fight, we're gonna get more shows. People are gonna be pumped up about this fight, even though some people say they're not. I guarantee you they will change their minds. That's how boxing works, and yeah, that's my experience. All right, guys. Thanks for joining the show. We'll see you next time. Take care.